This is an all-natural option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoyed this summer without joint pain. Here's what I want you to do. Contact my good friends at QC Kinetics and ask for your free consultation. You have nothing to lose. Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Will your current financial plan weather any storm? It's crucial to have a strategy that can endure and grow. BestGen Wealth Partners can help you survive and thrive in retirement. Don't leave your financial future to chance. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com.
Advisory services offered through BestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and BestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. BestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
We always use M13. They can print anything.
They design and price match. M13 does amazing work.
M13 Graphics has helped make our brand stand out. They're definitely the best for less.
Before M13, amateur. With M13, we look awesome.
M13 Graphics, Chicago's leader in full-color design and printing. Set your business up for success with exceptional print products. Turned around in just 24 to 48 hours. Business cards, postcards, posters, banners, brochures, apparel, you name it. M13 will design and print nearly anything for your business. They have the right people in place and a reputation that keeps customers happy and coming back for more. They're a Chicago company that embodies the idea of business integrity. They live it every day. After all, in this country, you're free to do business with who you choose. Respect that freedom. Choose the best. For speedy turnaround, excellent service, and the best pricing in Chicagoland, choose M13 Graphics for all your design and printing. Online at M13.com. Visit M13.com or call now, toll free, 877-M13-1913. That's 877-M13-1913.
Salem News Channel is America's fastest growing conservative TV network.
It's an absolute crazy day.
Home to the largest lineup of free speech champions anywhere. Delivering in-depth insight and unapologetic opinion on today's biggest news stories.
Americans aren't going to put up with this anymore.
SNC brings you the news that matters, told with integrity and clarity. Watch Salem News Channel free 24/7 on your television. Stream now on Xumo Play.
Hi, I'm Michael Alfaro, host of The Michael Alfaro Show. Join me each week as we tackle the issues you want to know more about, like foreign and national policies, how big money influences Washington, D.C., and so much more. Learn firsthand from elected officials and political insiders about the important policy decisions changing our world. Find me at michaelalfaroshow.com and then join me, Michael Alfaro, every Saturday evening at 7, right here on AM 560, The Answer.
Attention American homeowners, you're under attack. Your home and equity could be vulnerable to cyber thieves. There's only one company that completely stops them, and that company is Equity Protect. Equity Protect prevents any attempts to steal your home, equity, and ownership 24/7. Get your free risk report today by texting the word HOME to 94878. That's right, text the word HOME to 94878 to get your free risk report. Keep your equity and legacy safe with Equity Protect.
This is a special alert during this window replacement season. Don't get tricked by the cheapest offers and gimmicky ads. Now's the time to see and feel the difference of high-performance windows from Valdecas.
When it's time to consider new windows, siding, and doors for your home, you need to look no further. Sebastian Gorka here to tell you about Valdecas. Valdecas has been the trusted name chosen by thousands of homeowners, and they should be your number one choice too. But what's really behind the name Valdecas? Over 25 years of a team dedicated to providing you with the best customer service experience and products that truly bring value to your home. They are a Pella Platinum Elite Status certified contractor for a reason. They have an A+ rating with the BBB, as well as high ratings and positive reviews on both Google and Houzz. Schedule your free in-house consultation at valdecas.com.
Ask about their exclusive manufacturer warranties and their 10-year workmanship guarantee.
Don't wait. Book today at valdecas.com. For the best in class, it's Valdecas.
The following is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways with the purpose of soliciting sales of vacation ownership. For complete details, please visit fvgradio.com. If you want a 100% complimentary stay at a luxury resort in Cancun, airfare not included, then Family Vacation Getaways is your ticket to paradise. See website for complete details. We're giving away 5 days and 4 nights to the first 50 callers who can name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. An animal that lays eggs and is not a bird. Do you know it? Call now, 800-2080. 800-208-0414. 800-208-0414. You're also eligible for an exciting bonus vacation to Orlando, Florida for just $498. And don't worry about anything ruining your plans. We can extend your travel up to 18 months. Name an animal that lays eggs and is not a bird, and you get a complimentary Cancun resort stay and an optional bonus vacation to Orlando for just $498. What are you waiting for? Call 800-208-0414. 800-208-0414 and give us your answer. The proceeding is not a contest and is a paid advertisement by Family Vacation Getaways and not sponsored by this program or its affiliates.
Did you know that AM 560 Radio has a full-service digital marketing division called Salem Surround? If you're a business decision maker, listen up. AM 560 listeners are everywhere your potential audience is. So are our incredible targeting capabilities. We localize digital marketing and put it within reach of every business, small and large, in Chicagoland and beyond. Salem Surround offers AI-powered marketing solutions that reach your ideal audience. Whether or not you tap into the proven live, local, and emotional connection that AM 560 Radio brings, Salem Surround offers a total marketing solution to our partners. All-in-one digital solutions that provide targeted local digital and social media ads, Google AdWords management, website services, video strategy, search optimization, and even a management dashboard to offer you total campaign updates and transparency. Your Salem Surround representative is located right here in Chicago. Experience the Salem Surround digital revolution today. Call 847-472-8951. That's 847-472-8951.
Signature Bank is Chicago's fastest growing independently owned business bank, a bank where relationships still matter. I'm Dan Proft, and I know this because Signature Bank is my business bank.
Hey all, Jim Carr here. I am the owner of Carr Machine and Tool in Elk Grove Village and loyal customer of Signature Bank. As a second-generation owner, I knew I had to shift from operating as an old-school machine shop to what I can proudly say is now one of the fastest-growing aerospace manufacturing facilities in the region. Signature Bank was there every step of the way through our expansion efforts, including financing our new state-of-the-art facility. Their valuable industry expertise and constant communication throughout the construction process made our vision possible. Many thanks to Signature Bank for supporting Carr Machine and Tool. You set the bar high for other banks.
Signature Bank helps local businesses succeed. Want to learn how Signature Bank can help turn your business vision into reality? Visit signaturebank.bank. Member FDIC, Equal Housing Lender.
Come hungry to Scott Tucker Solutions Night at Portillo's, benefiting the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. Join us Thursday, May 22nd from 5 to 8 p.m. at Portillo's in Niles at 8832 West Dempster Street and use the cashier code Portillo's20. The night's bill is on Scott Tucker, and you eating free Portillo's helps support the families of fallen and disabled Chicago police officers and their families via the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. Enjoy your favorites, hot dogs, Italian beef, and chocolate cake. Scott Tucker is picking up the check, and Portillo's is donating 20% of gross sales to the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. So bring your appetite to Scott Tucker Solutions Night at Portillo's. It's Thursday, May 22nd from 5 to 8 p.m. at the Portillo's in Niles at 8832 West Dempster Street. And make sure to use the cashier code Portillo's20. Eat well and come out and run up Scott Tucker's bill and support the Chicago Police Memorial Foundation. We'll see you there. Investment advisory products and services made available through AE Wealth Management, LLC, a registered investment advisor.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Sunshine and clouds for this afternoon. High 78. Clear tonight, low 59. Cloudy for tomorrow with a shower thunderstorm around late. High 90. And Friday's high 89. I'm Andy Robb on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
Portions of the following show may be pre-recorded.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560, The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy, following up on a story from the other week, an important one, because don't forget what Letitia James taught us, the wonderful New York Attorney General.
My message is simple. No matter how powerful you are, no matter how much money you think you may have, no one is above the law.
Exactly, and Hannah Dugan found that out yesterday when a federal grand jury indicted her for obstruction of a federal law enforcement operation in Milwaukee County, where she is judge. She is currently on leave pending the outcome of her criminal charges. She is a misdemeanor judge, you remember from a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
Who's essentially aided and abetted the escape of a known fugitive from federal law enforcement that was waiting to take him into custody after adjudication on domestic violence charges before a Milwaukee County court.
Yeah, a girlfriend beat her. She was protecting somebody. I mean, she's a woman, for the love of all that's holy. And she's protecting an alleged domestic violence abuser.
She'll be, she's facing federal charges on felony obstruction of a federal agency and concealing a person to help them avoid arrest, which is a misdemeanor. The conversation about this, I think, from the left's perspective, was nicely encapsulated by an exchange from Katie Couric, you remember her? And Adam Kinzinger, you remember him?
Oh, boy.
They can't really make sense of this arrest and now indictment of the Wisconsin judge.
Let's talk about the arrest of that Wisconsin judge, Hannah Dugan, who was arrested by the FBI on suspicion that she had steered an undocumented immigrant through a side door to evade federal agents. Why is that such an outrage in your view?
So it's two things. First off, I didn't know it was illegal to, kind of hide somebody that has not been convicted necessarily by the feds. They wanted to deport him. I don't know all the details, but so is this saying that if you know somebody who's illegal and they're at your house and the police come, that it's illegal to say they're not there? That's kind of chilling, to be honest with you, if it's like that. I don't know all the details.
It's chilling.
They're not at your house. They're in a courtroom.
Well, it doesn't matter if they're at your house. I just asked that judge in New Mexico. If you're harboring a fugitive, I'm sorry, you were a member of Congress?
Is he that stupid? I didn't know he was that
If
dumb.
you're a member of Congress and you don't know that it is against the law to harbor a fugitive or obstruct federal law enforcement, and this is the guy who's crying crocodile tears before, during the J6 Star Chamber proceeding about police, at the Capitol and about law enforcement in general, wrapping himself in the flag, wrapping himself in the thin blue line. And this is baffling to you. It's chilling, actually. It's not even baffling. It's chilling. You find it chilling, even though you don't know the details. You don't know the details. This happened 2 weeks ago.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on this very same line.
It's just it just continues to be something to behold, isn't it? When you have someone like Kinzinger, who apparently was just impersonating a conservative for the first few terms in office.
He had Illinoisans fooled.
All of a sudden, when it's time to take the mask off, or he just has this, traumatic event, meaning Trump's election, that results in his loss of all common sense, common decency, and basic understanding of the law, like basic adult understanding of the law. I'm not even talking about a member of Congress. The threshold. It's chilling that it's really just jarring. And then, of course, Katie Couric doesn't say anything about it because she's equally, these are two dullars communicating.
Yeah. They love what this judge did. There was no pushback about that.
Yeah, right. Law and order all the way, except when an officer of the court is thwarting federal law enforcement to bring a fugitive to justice. Okay. Well, as we talked about a bit yesterday, continue on with this line of argumentation with the policy positions that you're staking out. And by you, I mean Katie Couric and Adam Kinzinger. This is part of the new Marxist movement now. This is part of the Marxist cultural revolution. They are part of it. They've been part of it. And they're continuing to be part of it when you have offerings like that. No, keep going. Keep running with it. Keep running with it.
I mean, and then if you read his complaint, I mean, Flores was charged March 12th with a fight that occurred between him and two roommates after he was accused of playing his music too loud, Dan. The complaint says Flores Ruiz punched one roommate 30 times, then hit the woman who, she tried to intervene to try to end the fight. A real nice guy. I love this. Let's protect him. And then the other guy, I don't even want to say his name, who the senator went down to see in El Salvador.
Right. It's a little past post at this point. Yeah, right. Abrego Garcia is a Maryland man, and this guy is a Wisconsin man, and I get it.
Yeah, he's from Mexico, this guy, bordered.
He was the case is in Wisconsin. He's a Wisconsin man. You magically become a part of the community in which you currently find yourself, regardless of your status. A related story, important development. For the first time, a federal judge, Stephanie Haynes, out of Pennsylvania, has ruled that President Trump may continue deportation of gang members using the Alien Enemies Act. The court, from her opinion, this court's unflagging obligation is to apply the law as written. When the court does so, it finds the proclamation now at issue complies with the Alien Enemies Act. The court now leaves it to the political branches of the government, ultimately to the people who elect those individuals, to decide whether the laws and those executing them continue to reflect their will. Okay. So we'll see the left's reaction to, are you violating a judicial order? You have to follow. Do we have a constitutional crisis? Do we have a constitutional crisis now with Stephanie Haynes because you don't like her decision?
This is... keep going, Democrats. Honestly, they can't handle that they lost, and this is how they're reacting. I mean, again, real quick, back to Flores Ruiz, the roommate beater and chick beater. He got an order of expedited removal back in January of 2013. He was arrested and then deported back to Mexico through Nogales, and then some came back to this country again. So when Trump says he wants to get rid of the worst, this is what he's talking about.
And the left wants to get rid of Afrikaners, the 4 dozen South African farmers and their families who Trump granted Rubio, I guess, but, the Trump administration granted temporary protected status to. This has been raging over the last couple of days and continues because, of course, it's the opportunity for the left to play the race card, to do their race hustle on top of their stranger hustle. So you got sort of a bubble here. You've got the no person is illegal and white supremacy. They can go with both. Wonderful. As I said, keep doubling down on the identitarian silliness. Ashley Allison, I mentioned her briefly yesterday. She is a former Biden and Obama campaign flunky and one of these people assembled on these unlistenable CNN roundtable discussions. This was her exchange with Scott Jennings on that panel about those Afrikaners.
Part of that is that the people who are native to that land deserve their rightful land back. That is not what the Afrikaners actually want to have happen, which are the white Africans, and so who are not originally from Africa, who colonized South Africa also. And so that is what they are saying is discrimination. Now, if the Constitution in South Africa is discriminatory, they have their checks and balances in that land, just like we do. And that is for them to. So if the Afrikaners don't actually like the land, they can leave that country.
They are. They're leaving to come here.
No. They can
These refugees are coming here.
They can actually leave and go to where their native land is, which is probably Germany.
Are you against them coming here?
Holland, probably. Holland.
Yeah, there's layers there as usual. So first of all, the ancestry is Dutch, not German. Basic point. Secondly, the Afrikaners have been there for 400 years.
Yes, generations.
So, I mean, there's that. But the other point is, so that's 1 point, 2 points. 3. I mean, there's nothing they say that has any evidentiary basis. Is that your position if people don't like particular policies in America, rather than talking about the substance of policy, you just say, well, if you don't like it, get the hell out. America, love it or leave it. I don't think that's her view. What their real view is that anytime there is a property expropriated by the government from honkies to persons of color, it's good. And somehow it's justified because other people previously had committed bad acts against other people previously. So everything going forward is justified. This is the point that Shelby Steele, Eli Steele, so many of the important thinkers in black conservative circles understand, going back to Frederick Douglass, which is that if you put the government in position of conferring benefits and imposing costs based on race, then somebody is going to be subjected and violated, and you're unleashing this endless tit for tat where the purpose of government is for your tribe to get in control of it, to enjoy the benefits of power and impose the costs on those who are not part of your tribe. That's warlordocracy. And that's what you're hearing from these neo-Marxists in response to the Afrikaners who've been granted entrance into this country. You're hearing the racial spoils system, the warlordocracy argument. Why? Because they are civilization destroyers. That's why. George in Naperville.
Yes, Stan, people have been playing hide and seek forever. It's even played in the animal kingdom. The judge was just having some fun.
Of course, judges being silly, to paraphrase Brandon Johnson. By the way, on the Afrikaners, one other thing, I thought you find this of particular interest.
About the Episcopalians?
Yeah, the Episcopal Church, Amy's church, refused to help the federal government resettle white South Africans granted refugee status, according to a letter shared by the denomination. It's morally problematic for them.
Yeah, we don't help white people.
Yeah.
Why don't they just say it? I mean, okay. I can't wait to go to church on Sunday.
Is that right at the headline of is that on the headline of the church bulletins on Sunday? We don't help white people.
If you're white heterosexual, we're not going to help you.
Can I get an amen? Coming up at 5:38, there's more of a crack up going on within Democrat ranks. Gosh, I'm sorry to see it. The targeting of Fetterman and David Hogg for different reasons, but both are entertaining. 5:38.
Yeah, and I think I know why David Hogg is single. But now let's head into the newsroom, and here are the headlines.
Good morning. It's 58 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 newsroom, I'm Rich Johnson. Crisis counselors and extra police officers will be at Mather High School today to help students and staff deal with a shooting yesterday afternoon. Chicago police say a 17-year-old was shot in the arm as he sat in a car near Mather Park. He's in good condition at Evanston Hospital. The shooter remains at large. A Chicago City Council committee has approved dropping the requirement of a college diploma for most city jobs, eliminating what some call the paper ceiling. A federal grand jury has indicted Milwaukee County Circuit Judge Hannah Dugan for allegedly helping a man evade ICE agents. Dugan's accused of escorting the man, who was in the U.S. illegally, out of her courtroom last month after learning that ICE agents were in the courthouse looking for him. This report is sponsored by Lowe's. Savings are in full bloom at Lowe's. Right now, get Miracle-Gro 3/4 cubic foot all-purpose garden soil for just $2. Shop these savings and more at Lowe's. Valid through 5/14, excludes Hawaii and Alaska. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
It's almost time for AM 560's annual golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. And once again, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation as they support America's first responder and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. It's all happening on Wednesday, June 18th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. Enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf.
Do you owe $10,000 or more in credit card debt or personal loans? With credit card debt at all-time highs, Debt Relief Advocates is urgently notifying consumers of debt relief now being made available, designed to aid consumers with out-of-control credit card debt. Those who qualify and enroll for this relief program will only have to pay back a fraction of what they owe. This is not bankruptcy or a debt consolidation loan. This is a relief program that credit card companies would rather you not know about, as it ends your debt nightmare and saves you lots of money. Consumers owing at least $10,000 in credit card debt or personal loans can now take advantage of this debt relief as the cost of living skyrockets. Debt Relief Advocates has established a relief hotline for you to call to learn what debt reduction you may qualify for. For this free information, call 800-422-1609, 800-422-1609, 800-422-1609, or simply visit godra.com.
In 2012, the Journal of Cognition and Emotion published a study that showed that we make a decision to trust a person within 100 milliseconds of seeing their face. Making a good first impression has never been more important, and you can make that positive impression with a professional headshot from Tom Killoran Photography. Whether you're a job seeker trying to land your next position, or you're looking to build your business by connecting with prospective clients and customers, you need a high-quality headshot to use with your resume, portfolio, website, or other marketing materials. The experts at Tom Killoran Photography can work with you to capture the exact look you need for your professional presentation. Tom Killoran Photography is also the official photographer for AM 560 The Answer. To learn more and to see a sample of their work, just visit KilloranPhotography.com. That's KILLORAN Photography.com, or call them at 708-361-0025. Tom Killoran Photography, capturing important life moments for over 30 years.
Be prepared for tax changes in 2025. Without a solid strategy, you could risk losing more of your hard-earned savings than necessary. VestGen Wealth Partners can help develop proactive tax plans designed to help keep more money in your pockets. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com for a free review.
Advisory services offered through VestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and VestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. VestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Now, your official weather forecast.
Sun and clouds for today. Warm. A shower can't be ruled out. High 78. Clearing tonight. Low 59. Variable cloudiness. It'll be a breezy day tomorrow. Late day or evening thunderstorm. Could see some downpours. An isolated tornado. A high 90. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Darling of the New Marxists, David Hogg.
Oh, boy.
DNC vice chairman, the young upstart.
Oh, youth is everything, Dan, remember?
He's been crossing rhetorical swords with Jimmy Carville, Serpent Head, for the last few weeks over his call for primary challenges to certain Democrats, trying to usher in a new generation of leadership. You get to keep some of the octogenarians, but only the octogenarians that are proper comrades. So there's been this complaint and movement afoot to have him removed, have the vice chairman elections redone because there were alleged irregularities.
Yeah, right. Oh, my God.
This is great. I mean,
voter fraud, is that what they're saying? Of unfair elections?
It's fun to watch the great vanguard of our democracy try to actually practice democracy within their own party. It's been sort of a excrement show, if you will. And now one of the other vice chair humans of the DNC has taken to social media to criticize Hogg. I mean, here's another self-indulgent, race-hustling, victim-addled child, basically. Malcolm Kenyatta is his name.
So, hey, everybody, it's Rep. Malcolm Kenyatta. I just came back from the gym. A lot has happened today, and if you know me at all, you know I needed to go for a run.
Oh, boy, do I know you.
That being said, I'm coming to talk to you, unfortunately, not about Republicans cutting Medicare and Medicaid or trying to cut SNAP benefits, which we should be focusing on. Instead, I'm coming to you to talk about inter-party Democratic nonsense. So, long story short, 100 days ago today, ironically, I was elected as one of the vice chairs of the Democratic Party. You needed 201.5 votes to be elected. I got 289 votes. David Hogg, who is another vice chair, got 214 votes, I think it was. 214.5 votes. And every article that has been written so far about what's going on has completely incorrectly, with David's support, made this story about the Democratic Party getting David. He even sent out an op-ed saying, this is the first step of the Democratic Party pushing me out. That rubs me the wrong way. Not just because I got way more votes than him, and I also am finding myself in this position of having to go through another election, which was hard and grueling on my team and on my family.
Poor Pete.
But I want people to understand, I have been to 8 states in 100 days. I've traveled almost 20,000 miles. I've done call time. I've attended fundraisers. I've done the hard and unglamorous work of trying to build this party and rebuild this party in a moment where we really need to change what we're doing in the way that we're approaching voters. And yet, we have spent now weeks talking about one person, not about what the party needs to do, but talking about one person. And now, as this new thing has happened, the press is rushing to take David's word for it, that this is yet another way that people are trying to get him. David knows that's bullshit. This challenge was submitted weeks before David ever announced what he was doing with Leaders We Deserve, weeks before. And I refuse to sit here and allow the press to continue to push this narrative as if I'm not sitting right here, and as if I didn't get way more votes than he got, and as if I haven't been doing the work of trying to rebuild this party.
I'm doing the work, Dan.
So yes, this situation is in the weeds. It's complicated. And frankly, I wish we weren't talking about it. But we are talking about it. And if we're going to talk about it, we're going to at least talk about it with some honesty. We're going to at least put the receipts and the facts on the table. And so that's just what I want to say at this point. I am upset about how this went down, obviously. But I'm going to be okay. And I'll keep doing the work that I was called to do, because we need a strong Democratic Party to meet this moment. And obviously that requires us doing some introspection, but it also requires people to be honest about what's going on.
Don't worry about Malcolm Kenyatta. He's going to be okay. Yeah, he's out there doing the hard work, traveling and going to fundraisers. That's the hard work of party building, as everyone knows. I don't know who these people are, but it's really, really enjoyable to watch this sort of cannibalization occur. Basically, this all started because of identitarians trying to out-identitarian one another.
Right.
And now there's going to be a full vote of the DNC membership, which could invalidate these vice chair elections. And I know this is in the weeds, as Mr. Kenyatta said, but it is illustrative of the party and the philosophy of the party. So to watch them handle their internal business is to understand how they would handle the external business of the people if we were silly enough to put them in charge of anything. This goes back to February when this all happened. This is great. This is an excerpt from Jonathan Chait's piece in The Atlantic. Speaking to the Democrat National Committee, which met to select its new leadership this week, the outgoing chair, Jamie Harrison, attempted to explain a point about its rules concerning gender balance for the vice chair race. Quoting Harrison, the rules specify that when we have a gender non-binary candidate or officer, the non-binary individual is counted as neither female nor male and the remaining 6 officers must be gender balanced. Harrison then continued explaining, to ensure our process accounts for male, female, and non-binary candidates, we conferred with our Rules and Bylaws Committee co-chair, our LGBT caucus co-chair, and others to ensure that the process is inclusive and meets the gender balance requirements in our rules. To do this, our process will be slightly different than the one outlined to you earlier this week. I hope you will see that in practice it is simple and transparent.
Well, the DNC moving to oust Hogg as vice chair. That's we do like this infighting, but they wanted the youth, and so I think this call to remove him too comes after he was on Bill Maher. Did you hear what he said? I mean, basically, David Hogg has a problem with his dating life, and he's taking it out on the DNC.
What we have to do here is figure out how to bring people back in and work towards the bigger goal of advancing the future of this country and helping young people especially get by so that they're able to focus on their lives and, getting with a young woman or something like that instead of how are they going to pay their rent, for example, or how are they working their 2 jobs. Young people should be able to focus on what young people should be focused on, which is how to get laid and how to go and have fun.
The story is, the story though here is one of being hoisted by their own petard. As a parliamentarian who served as a witness for a complainant, in attempting to guarantee that at least one male candidate was elected, the DNC used procedures that all but guaranteed that both male candidates would be elected, and so on and so forth. And you heard this non-binary will not be counted as male or female, and then the rest of the leadership will have to be gender balanced. So when you get into this business of trying to check off boxes and put, fill slots based on gender identity, this is what happens. This is what happens. It's just such a beautiful thing.
And you don't think it has anything to do with him trying to get out old Democrats who won't leave, because that's been a focus of his.
There have been a few members that have come out that have said, well, if I retire, my life is effectively over. And what I would say is get over yourself. This isn't about you. This is about our country, and it's about your constituents. Nobody is I don't care if you've been there for decades or just one term. That seat is not yours. It is your constituents.
The complaint was filed about the election process before he started going off on this and talking about raising $20 million for primary elections and so on and so forth. Maybe this has something to do with the DNC taking it up. Who cares? I don't care. I'm just pointing out this is how they operate their own show. And so what should that tell you about how they would operate the government show, where they have, unfortunately, impact on all of us?
312-642.
That's the takeaway.
Yeah, 312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us, too.
Now, before or concurrent with the left telling us that Biden was acute, no cognitive decline, he was robust and probing, they were providing the same sort of cover for John Fetterman. Or was it cover?
Oh, really?
Was it cover then, or is it cover now? John Fetterman, Senator Slingblade from Pennsylvania, is facing calls from within the party, more cannibalization. That's identitarian based, because that's what that party is based. There is no we're for protecting this program, or we're for this subset of people in terms of your economic lot in life. No. It is all identity based. And nothing has changed since November. They can't change. They're unwilling to. They've lost their party. Like you see, these are, we talk about Chicago being a failed city, Illinois being a failed state. This is a failed party. And much like Chicago and Illinois, there is no appetite to do anything other than continue doubling down. So that's what you're saying. Fetterman is now being accused of being mentally unfit to hold office from Democrats. From Democrats.
They celebrated him. They mentioned nothing after that disastrous debate with Dr. Oz.
But he had
supported him.
First of all, he's not a moderate. This is how he's being characterized. He's not a moderate. He's a big dumb lummox, number one, and he's a leftist. But because he has positioned himself, to be a little bit more moderate on some issues like, for example, the Middle East and Israel in particular, he is being pilloried by the radical left, the new Marxist cultural revolutionary warriors who are in charge of that party. And so former staffers are suggesting that Fetterman's condition is worse than previously believed. And Fetterman is being treated to, interviews where they're going beyond the accusations into sort of, are you still suffering from depression? Are you still taking your meds? I mean, really getting in to his kitchen in terms of his health. Do we have the Fetterman bite? Adam Jettleson sent an email to the medical director of the Traumatic Brain Injury and Neuropsychiatric Unit at Walter Reed in May of 2024. Fetterman, for whom Jettleson was chief of staff, had been released from the facility in May of 23 following, remember, the 6 weeks of inpatient care for his doctor's diagnosis of clinical depression. That was a year after the stroke he had suffered. Jettleson, according to a New York Magazine report, was once proud of his boss for seeking professional help, but he later became so alarmed by Mr. Fetterman's behavior that he quit his job. According to a 1,600-word email Jettleson sent to Fetterman's doctor, the senator was suffering from these are quotes, conspiratorial thinking, megalomania, high highs and low lows. In long, rambling, and repetitive self-centered monologues, Fetterman was lying in ways that are painfully, awkwardly obvious to everyone in the room. He was preoccupied with Twitter, and he was driving recklessly. And
let the smear campaign begin.
Yeah. And so it has in earnest.
Yep.
He is pushing back. This report suggested that Fetterman, who checked himself into Walter Reed Hospital last year because he was battling depression, he was in Walter Reed for about 6 weeks. The report, according to his former chief of staff, was that Fetterman is no longer following that strict medical regimen that was outlined by his doctors and is demonstrating erratic and reckless behavior, according to his former chief of staff, Adam Jettleson, who went public in that New York Magazine report. I asked Fetterman about that and about whether he is indeed following that protocol and whether he can actually fill out his term, which ends at the end of 2028.
Well, my reaction is it's a one-source hit piece, and it involved maybe 2 or 3 anonymous disgruntled staffers saying just absolute false things.
Have you been keeping up with that, taking your medication?
My doctors are like, John is great, and I am on all of the plan that it's always been, and it's incredibly invasive. And why are people talking about anyone's personal medical things?
So you've only been treated for depression, not for being bipolar?
No, I haven't.
My gosh.
I haven't, but I've been very front and center about with depression. Absolutely, none of these other things. And it's like someone that was trying to accumulate my medical records and leak those things. That's part of this weird grudge for this hit piece.
You fully plan to serve your full term here in the Senate?
Come on, of course, that's obviously.
No, John. You come on. Welcome to your party. Welcome to your party, big guy. Oh, it's a hit piece, and they're smearing me, and this is untoward, and of course I'm going to finish my term. Yeah. Welcome to your party that does that all the time as just the ordinary course of business. And the D.C. Press Corps that flacked for you has now been animated against you. You know, Manu Raju or these other tools at
Asking
CNN.
if he's bipolar.
Of course.
Oh my God.
So can you serve out your term until 28? No, because we want you out.
Yeah, we want you out now. Are you sure you're not bipolar? Are you taking your medication?
Jim Kirchick is an author. I had a piece on this, quite good. How quickly progressives, usually so careful not to stigmatize people for their mental health, do an about-face when the target of such accusations espouses political views opposing theirs. What's afflicting Fetterman is a more acute version of what struck Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, Democrats from red states who tried to reach across the political divide. That's giving all three of those too much credit, but I mean, he's generally right. And the point here is to say John Fetterman committed a thought crime. He strayed from the orthodoxy. Now he must be destroyed and replaced. Glenn in Orlando.
Yeah, I think Fetterman should consider becoming independent. I know he won't become Republican, but maybe he should switch to being independent.
Yeah, well, guess what, Glenn? No. You know why? Because that indicates some sort of concern for John Fetterman's political future. Why do Republicans do that? I'm worried about Joe Manchin's political future, Kyrsten Sinema's political future, John Fetterman's political. No, I'm not. I want them replaced with conservative reformers. Remember, that's the point of elections. That's the point of having a particular political view and a policy agenda. I don't care what label John Fetterman puts on himself any more than I did those other two establishment hacks and apologists for a party that cast them aside. I'm supposed to feel sorry for them? They're enablers. They're deserving of no empathy. They're deserving what they get. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
It's what Chicago is talking about. It's Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan and Amy on AM 560. The Answer. Sign up for the AM 560 Answer Advantage to get early alerts on event ticket sales, special discounts, and contest opportunities. Sign up today at 560theanswer.com/advantage.
Attention! If you owe money to the IRS, this is an urgent message. The IRS is cracking down by sending out collection letters, garnishing paychecks, seizing bank accounts, and putting liens on homes and businesses. They call it enforced compliance, and you better watch out because penalties and interest on unpaid taxes compound daily, making it even harder to get out of debt. Don't let tax debt destroy your life. You need to call Optima Tax Relief, America's #1 tax resolution firm. They're experts in taxpayer assistance programs that can save you thousands if you qualify. A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau, Optima's resolved over $1 billion of tax debt for their clients. Let them fight on your behalf, helping to put your tax problems to rest. Call the tax professionals at Optima now for a free consultation.
Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433.
Optima Tax Relief. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
When I started skiing, I didn't think about setting any records. When I won my first race, I didn't think about how many more I might win. So when I made it to the top of the world, it never crossed my mind to stop. Being the best isn't the same as being your best. There are no shortcuts to the top, so find the people who help get you there. I'm Michaela Schifrin, and that's what Team Stiefel means to me. If you're an advisor or an investor, choose Stiefel, where success meets success.
Stiefel Nicholas and Company Incorporated, member SIPC and NYSE. Past performance is no indication of future results. Investing involves risk. Consult a financial advisor before making any investment decisions.
Enjoy uninterrupted programming from Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson around the clock, all day, every day, including daily replays of Chicago's Morning Answer on Dan and Amy 24/7. Listen now at danandamy247.com. AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Does Trump's executive order imposing price controls on pharmaceutical drugs, does it pass the marshmallow test? 606.
Today we're going to have warm condition, clouds and sun. Cannot rule out a shower, a high of 79 degrees, 90 by the end of the week. It's 6 a.m. WIND Chicago.
He's on his way to Qatar.
I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. It's President Trump's second stop on a Middle East trip that he touts is bringing in more than $1 trillion in economic agreements with the U.S. and American companies.
Incredible opportunities are within reach for this region. If we can simply stop the aggression from a small group of pretty bad actors.
And the president said while in Saudi Arabia, he wants to make a deal with Iran.
But for that to happen, it must stop sponsoring terror, halt its bloody proxy wars, and permanently and verifiably cease its pursuit of nuclear weapons. They cannot have a nuclear weapon.
The president also announcing the lifting of sanctions on Syria. And, of course, that comes with the hopes that the war-torn country can finally pursue a pathway toward peace, prosperity, and perhaps a new U.S. partnership.
That's Fox's Kevin Corke. The president met with Syria's interim leader who led the overthrow of the Assad regime last year. First, at all the legal challenges to President Trump using the Alien Enemies Act to deport alleged gang members like the one sent to El Salvador in March. A federal judge says the president can invoke that rarely used 18th century law meant for wartime, as he calls the surge of illegal immigration an invasion. But 4 other federal judges ruled just the opposite, that the president was not justified. At Sean Diddy Combs' trial, singer Cassie Ventura will return to the witness stand, testifying at the rapper and music producer's federal sex trafficking trial.
Describing graphic details of her previous sex life with the rapper, now telling jurors that she felt like she couldn't say no. She told jurors she was 19 when she met Diddy and signed with his record label. She said their relationship turned sexual when she was 21 and they were together for a decade. She's a key witness for prosecutors who accused Diddy of using fear and intimidation to coerce and traffic Cassie and other women into drug-fueled sexual parties.
That's Fox's CB Cotton outside the court in New York. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 50 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 newsroom, I'm Rich Johnson. Chicago police say an argument at a gas station led to a fatal shooting early this morning. A 40-year-old man is dead after the incident just after 1 in the 7400 block of South Stony Island. Police say the shooter drove off in a white vehicle and remains at large. No word what led to the argument. A 75-year-old man is dead after a crash last night near South 77th and Western Avenue. Police say they stopped a 29-year-old woman a few blocks from the crash scene and arrested her. Charges are pending. The driver of an SUV is under arrest after witnesses say he drove onto the Billy Caldwell golf course Monday evening and hit a golfer. The victim, a 70-year-old man, is in intensive care at St. Francis Hospital. The still unidentified driver was arrested by Forest Preserves police. No word yet on the identities of the suspect or the victim. Quite the scare at a Southside Elementary School yesterday afternoon as nearly 24 students consumed marijuana edibles and 11 got so sick they had to be hospitalized. CBS 2 reports the principal at Fort Dearborn Elementary notified parents. One parent wants to know where those edibles came from. Wrigleyville Alderman Bennett Lawson wants to know more from short-term housing rental agencies like Airbnb and Vrbo. He's behind an ordinance that advanced yesterday in the council's License and Consumer Protection Committee. Lawson wants rental companies to help build a database of information, things like a unit's maximum capacity. That, he says, could help neighbors deal with rowdy parties in some units. Another electric bus company will give it a go with an assembly plant in Peoria. Demera Corporation of Ontario plans to spend more than $31 million to open the plant that it says will create 90 full-time jobs. Late last year, electric bus maker Lion Electric closed its assembly plant in Joliet. This report sponsored by AlmostFreeTeeth.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Hey Chicago, it's me, Larry Elder, the sage from South Central, the great Eldersky, Don Lorenzo, and I want you to join me along with Dan Proft and Sean Thompson for AM 560's upcoming cigar nights on May 21st and 22nd. I'm looking forward to meeting all of you and sitting down to talk about everything that's been happening during the first 100 days of the Trump administration. Get your tickets today at 560theanswer.com/cigar. That's 560theanswer.com/cigar. And I'll see you on May 21st and 22nd.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. There is a better way. Pure Talk, my sponsor, my wireless company, has a better offer. A brand new free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. For $35 a month, you get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
Welcome back to Ask Hassleus. I'm Weston. What's your question?
Yeah, when you say your Hassleus mattress showrooms are employee-free, you don't really mean it, right?
Of course we mean it. No employees. Give the mattresses a try with no pushy sales guy.
Why no employees?
To save you money.
How much money?
Well, others sell a Beauty Sleep by Beautyrest Elm Cove B Queen for $16.59, but the everyday Hassleus price is just $8.42.
Whoa, Nelly.
We also have way low pricing on our selection of Sealy Posturepedic and more.
Well, that's pretty good.
And through Monday, purchase a select Beautyrest or Sealy Posturepedic mattress in any size and receive a free adjustable base.
That's exceptionally good.
Plus, free next day delivery, removal and setup of your new mattress, and free financing is available too.
All because your showrooms are employee-free?
Yes, sir.
I like the way you do business.
Get a free adjustable base now through Monday at Hassleus Mattress. Open 9 to 9. Find an employee-free Chicagoland showroom near you at hassleus.com.
From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Nikki Whaley. On the Edens inbound from Lake Cook to Montrose, 14 minutes. Outbound, 13 minutes. On the Kennedy inbound from Montrose to the Byrne interchange, 13 minutes. Outbound, about 12 minutes. On the Eisenhower inbound from Wolf to the Old Post Office, 18 minutes. Outbound, 15 minutes. On the Stevenson inbound from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive, 25 minutes. Outbound, about 15 minutes. Traffic is a service of In Grace with Pastor Jim Scudder Jr. now heard on Sunday morning at 7:30 on AM 560. Tune in and find hope as Jim Scudder explores God's Word and His Word each Sunday morning right here on AM 560 The Answer. Chicago's Morning Answer continues next, but now check your forecast from the National Weather Service.
Sunshine and clouds for this afternoon, high 78, clear tonight, low 59. Cloudy for tomorrow with a shower thunderstorm around late, high 90, and Friday's high 89. I'm Andy Robb on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Forever Remodeling. Stress-free and high-quality remodeling. View their stunning transformations online at the number 4everremodeling.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios, this is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We talked about it a bit yesterday, both with Scott the Cow Guy Shellady and in more detail with Professor Richard Epstein, talking about Trump's executive order that he alleges will reduce prices for pharmaceutical drugs for Americans by 30 to 80% by essentially coupling America to the charges, to the prices that are charged elsewhere in the developed world. And I know people just support whatever Trump does, even if it was policies that we used to oppose when the left was proposing them. Tariffs is one example. Everybody goes and points to this video from Nancy Pelosi talking about the trade deficit with China and tariffs in 1995. And they're going to see, and now they're opposing him. Well, I know they're hypocrites, right? So the response to their hypocrisy should be our hypocrisy. And so we have the case with the executive order attempting to impose, it's far from a done deal, but attempting to impose price controls on pharmaceutical prices in America. If people can't engage in a discussion, we're just supposed to accept everything that this administration does at face value without thinking it through ourselves, without asking any questions, kicking the tires. Well, sorry, that's not what I do. So let's talk about this. And I'll start with an argument in favor of Trump's EO from our friend Scott McKay. You hear him on this show, regular guest. Scott McKay has a piece in The Spectator that Trump's executive order should have happened decades ago. What is free market? He asked sort of rhetorically about Americans paying the tab for the rest of the world's prescription drugs. It's another fairness argument. And I understand the, how persuasive that is because it's relatively simple. By the way, these price controls that Trump is seeking to impose are the same policies that Obama and Biden, for example, with the quote-unquote Inflation Reduction Act, imposed. It's the same policy. This is something that Bernie Sanders supports. Does it give you any pause? What else do you agree with Bernie Sanders on? Anything? If Trump is serious about making real change rather than just issuing a press release, he will support legislation I will introduce to ensure we pay no more for prescription drugs than people in other major countries. If we come together, we can get it passed in weeks. Going back to Scott McKay, starting there. Back in 2020, Trump tried something similar with respect to sort of unilaterally cutting prices. And naturally, once bought and paid for, Joe Biden took office in 2021, the federal government gave up on trying to cram down drug prices. Well, that's not exactly true. I mean, the Biden administration running around talking about how they artificially reduced the price of insulin. That was one of their major accomplishments. You remember it in the debates.
Oh, yeah.
The cost of U.S. taxpayer, the cost of U.S. taxpayer is something like $85 billion over 7 years, which was the Trump administration's projection attached to its first effort at government price setting. But is price setting what's really happening? As Trump noted, practically every foreign country operates as a bulk buyer of pharmaceuticals. That's their monopsonies, as we discussed with Epstein. That's true. While the federal government in the U.S. does not, neither Medicare nor Medicaid directly dictates drug prices for their enrollees in the way foreign countries' health bureaucracies do. And naturally, private health care plans don't have the power to do anything of the sort. Meaning that there's a lot of price setting happening in the international pharmaceutical market. It just happens everywhere else but here. What Trump is attempting to do is play the same game those countries play to cram down drug prices. This isn't an assault on the free market. There is no free market in prescription drugs. Since World War II, it's been a cartel market, and it's simply been the American people getting hammered by it. And we see this argument from the status quo crowd again and again. Trump or MAGA or the NatCons or whoever are attacking the free market. We get this on trade again and again. Imposing tariffs on China or some other country in order that a trade relationship that saps away at American producers and destroys manufacturing jobs is assault on free trade, don't you know? As if free trade exists with China. When you're trading with a communist dictatorship that systematically steals your IP, freezes your producers out of their markets, and undercuts you on the cost of using labor, undercuts you on cost by using labor practices no civilized country in the world does, you're not going to be able to characterize that trade as free. It takes two to dance that tango. And Trump tariffs are almost certainly going to produce this effect of opening markets and creating freer trade than what existed before. And he goes on to say, we should all want to see free markets. Free markets are a great thing. But with respect to pharmaceuticals, Americans have been forced to subsidize drugs for the rest of the world for decades. And it's been left to the Bernie Sanderses of the world, whose solution, if he could get away with it, would be to nationalize the whole industry, to complain about it while the rest of us are supposed to grin and bear it while Germans and Canadians get the same pills for a tiny fraction of what Ohioans and Arizonans pay. The same pills from the same factories, most of which are owned by American companies. and they call that a free market. Okay, so there's the argument in pertinent park in support of what Trump is doing.
312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. You could also text us on our text line.
Nobody's saying Trump's EO is a perfect solution. A little bit more from McKay.
Mm-hmm.
There's no perfect solution to this problem when most of the money spent on prescription drugs or healthcare generally across the globe is spent by the public sector. That's true. But Trump shouldn't be castigated for price setting by Big Pharma or anyone else. The ship sailed in the years following World War II. Trump simply noted how far from land we are. That's the argument. Okay. Well, the counter-argument. I'm not to everything that McKay says, because I agree with some of it. So it's more the approach. Trump could know how far from land we are, to borrow McKay's metaphor, and focus people's attention on what real reductions in the cost of pharmaceutical drugs could look like if we reconsidered the regulatory regime under which these pharma companies operate, for example. And there are other things that we can do to get government out of the business or reduce its role in the business of being the largest purchaser of healthcare, driving all of the decision-making and creating externalities along the way. You can still frame that. We pay 30 to 80% higher, and it's not right. It doesn't have to be this way. So I'm just going to wave a wand like European socialists do and say we're going to pay 30 to 80% less. It's as easy as that. Is it as easy as that? Is it? 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Did you ever hear of the marshmallow experiment?
I have not. I'm sorry. I meant to Google that during the break, too.
The marshmallow experiment is a experiment that was done by a Stanford professor named Walter Mischel in the 1960s. Mischel and his team tested hundreds of kids. Most of them were like 4 or 5 years old.
Yep. Okay, I remember now.
And revealed something about delayed gratification. So the experiment goes like this. Each child is put into a private room. They're sat down in a chair, and in front of them is a marshmallow. The researcher offers the child a deal. I'm going to leave the room. I'm going to come back. If you don't eat the marshmallow while I'm away, you get another marshmallow. If you do, you don't get another marshmallow. So 1 treat now or 2 later. Researcher leaves the room for 15 minutes. As you can imagine, it's a mixed bag from 4 or 5 year olds. Some immediately eat the marshmallow. Some try to hold out as long as they can and capitulate. Right. And some do not eat the marshmallow because 2 is better than 1. Researchers conducted follow-up studies and tracked the progress of the kids who were part of that initial marshmallow experiment. What they found, and there are additional longitudinal studies that document all this if you're really interested in digging into the marshmallow experiment. The children who were willing to delay gratification, waited to receive the second marshmallow, ended up having higher SAT scores, lower levels of substance abuse, lower likelihood of obesity, better responses to stress, better social skills as reported by their parents, and generally better scores in the range of other life measures.
Wow.
Researchers followed each child for more than 40 years over and over again, and the group who waited patiently for the second marshmallow succeeded in whatever capacity they were measuring. In other words, the ability to delay gratification is critical for success in life. By the way, this experiment was replicated years later at the University of Rochester, where the first group of kids, they did a little bit differently. They split the children into 2 groups this time, as opposed to 1 in a room at a time. 2 groups, and in the first group, children were given a small box of crayons and promised a bigger one, but they never got it. They were given a small sticker, and the researcher promised to bring them a better selection of stickers, but they never did. In the second group, they were promised better crayons and got them. They were told about better stickers, and they got them.
Okay.
Then they did the marshmallow test. You can imagine the impact. The children in the unreliable group had no reason to trust the researchers would come back with the second marshmallow, so they immediately ate the marshmallow. Meanwhile, the children in the second group were trained that if you wait, it gets better.
Good things will come to those who wait.
Yeah, all cliches are true.
Yes, it's
and
true.
it's based on science in this
that's
case.
a pretty cool experiment.
And so the delayed gratification. Why do I say that? Why is the marshmallow test relevant here? Well, because when it comes to public policy making, I think there's very little appetite for delayed gratification. Systems that are so convoluted, like how we do healthcare in this country, built up over, to McKay's point, administration after administration of quasi-central planning, ever-expanding entitlements that blow through all of the rosy cost projections of government actuaries over generations. And now we have this meatball sundae of a healthcare system. And you think, here's one externality. Americans are paying higher prices for pharmaceutical drugs. So we're just going to come in and say, no, we're not, because we're Americans. And there, problem solved or improvement made. But that is absent other considerations, absent some of the downsides that, sort of are rooted in another science, the dismal one, Econ 101. There are a lot of downsides to this that are entirely predictable. And so perhaps the conversation should be about the system as a whole, constituted since at least the 1960s with the advent of Medicare and Medicaid, and further bastardized with Obamacare and everything that's developed from that over the last 15 years. Because among the negative effects to consider, if price controls are actually instituted, if Bernie Sanders legislation is something that President Trump and Republicans want to sign on to, there'll be fewer drugs for the Medicare market. There'll be reduced incentive for generics to enter quickly. There'll be less R&D spending, leading to fewer new drugs, a reduced pharmaceutical armory, lower life expectancy, higher morbidity. Fewer new drugs means more spending on physicians and hospitals, so in the long run, price controls may not even save money. As Tyler Cohen, an economist, notes, price controls are a classic example of political myopia. Price controls like rent controls and deficit financing have modest benefits now and big future costs, and thus they are supported by politicians who want to be elected now. Unfortunately, current citizens don't forecast the future well, and future citizens don't have a vote, so it's easy to create big future costs without engaging in opposition. Isn't it, though? What have we been doing since World War II? Imposing huge future costs because it's not going to be our problem. The baby boomers are the worst offenders. We're saddled with all the entitlement programs they conceived of to, politicians, to get reelected, to develop constituencies and thus dependents, and to offer this sort of, open-ended blank checkbook promise out of somebody else's checkbook decades in the future. So it's a little bit more complicated. And the lack of delayed gratification is why, while a lot of these individuals have been successful, and we as a nation have been, because we have so many talented, ingenious citizens, and because we have been the most free country, so competitively we have had and enjoyed and benefited from that huge advantage of being the most free country. So why would we want to start emulating the dismal policies of less free countries? Art in Northbrook, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Good morning, Dan. Thank you for your show. I listen to you guys every morning.
Thank you.
And I am a loyal Trump supporter. And Dan, I love your insight and your intellect. But again, I must say that I think you're judging something before it's seasoned in a way where Trump is playing chess. He's 5 steps ahead of everybody. I think you're putting too much into one little capsule because Trump starts one place and then he gets the ball rolling, the people kick it around one way or another, and then he comes back with another fantastic, perhaps suggestion or a policy decision that ends up being a win-win-win all the way around for the American people, the industry, everything. I just got to tell you, I'm so optimistic and enthusiastic about our country right now, and it all has to do with Trump.
All right. Thanks for the call, Art. Mike and Dixon.
Yeah, Dan, you know what I was going to say? Oh, first of all, I wish you would run for governor and Amy would be your lieutenant governor.
No, Amy should run for governor. You have to. In Illinois, you have to be like
true price control.
Well,
because
I guess we're not going to talk about governor. Okay, go ahead, Mike. I'm sorry.
Okay, yeah. What I'm questioning is it a true price control? The executive order, in what I'm seeing, it just says we have to pay the price that the lowest nation pays. What prevents the drug companies from charging all the nations the same price plus $1, and therefore they could actually increase it? And then the second thing is Trump lying when he says the executives have all come to him from the drug companies and they've all said, this is a long time in coming and it's only fair, whatever?
I don't know about that. Thanks for the call, Mike. I'd like to see some pharmaceutical CEO say that on the record. They may be trying to sweet talk Trump into getting a carve out for themselves or for their particular drugs of importance. But I doubt that you're going to hear that categorical statement from any pharmaceutical CEO, certainly not in public. Phil in Maryville.
Morning. Yeah. This is the same old thing that happens to America. We get scammed or screwed on everything, and everybody else gets the benefit of it. I honestly think that he could get this done by either one, them playing ball, or two, if they don't, he could legitimately say they're price gouging, which they obviously are, and if they don't fine them, and then whatever you fine them, make sure that makes up the difference and pass it down to Americans to get the same price. That's another thing I think that could work.
Well, thanks for the call, Phil. I mean, I'm trying to convey this. What you might want to think about is we're not getting gouged. We're gouging ourselves because of the regulatory environment, the cost of R&D to bring a new drug to market. In addition to, as I said before, the government's involvement as the largest purchaser of healthcare. We're not a monopsony like Western Europe, where it's just the government, but you still have the government as the largest purchaser of healthcare in this country too, and that also creates externalities. So we're artificially increasing the price of some of these drugs, all of these drugs really, because of the regulatory framework, because how we do healthcare in this country. It's not outside. We're doing everything perfectly, but no, we've got these bad pharma companies, and I'm not a fan of big corporate America generally, so I'm not here flacking for pharma at all. I'm flacking for economics 101. Big bad pharma is coming in and they're gouging us, and we're just sort of innocent bystanders acting in good faith. No, we're not. We're not. That's not true. That's not an accurate description of the system. So, and as we talked about a bit yesterday, be careful what you wish for, because you start taking the profit out of the price charged to Americans, and then we are no longer could possibly, probably not, but possibly no longer get the priority that we get for drugs. Again, there's the access piece that people don't want to talk about. We have access to these drugs that other countries don't, or certainly not in the same time frame. And when you're talking about life-saving drugs, time is of the essence, isn't it? For example, and this has been going on for a long time, as McKay talked about. But for example, I mean, you wouldn't have illicit trafficking in pharmaceutical drugs if this weren't true. This is a while back. Police from Interpol swooped down on an international drug syndicate operating out of Antwerp, Belgium. The syndicate had been smuggling drugs from Kenya, Uganda, Tanzania into the port of Antwerp for distribution throughout Europe. Smuggling had netted the syndicate millions of dollars in profit. The drug being smuggled, heroin, cocaine? No.
What?
Something more valuable, Combivir.
Combivir?
Combivir is an anti-AIDS drug.
Oh.
It was being illegally smuggled from Africa to Europe, where Combivir was manufactured in Europe and could be bought there legally. But the difference is Combivir was priced at $12.50 per pill in Europe and much closer to cost, about 50 cents per pill in Africa. So they arbitraged it. They bought Combivir in Africa and sold it in Europe. It can make $12 a pill. Right. And they were smuggling millions of pills. That's real dollars.
And everybody wants an anti-aging pill.
Well, and so why was this was a GlaxoSmithKline at the moment? Why was it selling Combivir at a much lower price in Africa than in Europe? And this was at a time when GlaxoSmithKline had the patent on Combivir and thus some market power over pricing. In part, they reduced the price of Combivir in Africa for humanitarian reasons. But lowering the prices in poor countries can also increase profit. Drug companies often charge more for the same drug in the United States than in other countries. Congress often considers passing laws to make it easier to import drugs from these low-priced countries. But if it becomes effortless to buy AIDS from Africa or antibiotics from Latin America, how will drug companies change prices they charge in Latin America and Africa, and why? Are we thinking about that? You know, the market reaction to a government diktat. Prices will fall in the U.S., perhaps a little bit, and rise in poorer countries, but not equally. AIDS drugs, for example, save lives in Africa but generate little profit. If firms can't prevent arbitrage, they'll raise prices. They'll raise African prices closer to U.S. levels and lower U.S. prices only modestly. The result is the importation will end up hurting patients in low-income countries while delivering minimal gains to Americans. And then worse, as I mentioned, reducing pharmaceutical profits overall, weak incentives to develop new drugs. And in fact, the long-run U.S. consumers are better off when poorer countries pay lower prices, just as airline price discrimination makes more routes viable for both economy and first-class passengers. You have to think through the market response. There will be a market response to command control policies, particularly when they're one-offs and they can be evaded and the regimes in other countries can be manipulated. It's just interesting. As a quick aside, I keep going back to him because he's across the board free market. It's like having, von Mises as your president. Milei in Argentina. Milei's Libertarian Alliance won or gained everywhere in this week's state and local elections in Argentina. His free market reforms were implemented rapidly and yield results just as fast, and Argentinians are rewarding him. Now, there was so much corruption and sclerosis in government in Argentina and command control. But I mean, he is categorically across the board reducing the size and scope of government and trusting in markets, the free exchange of goods and services between consenting parties. And it's reaping across the board benefits. That's another way to go. Coming up at 6:36, we'll turn our attention to Trump's visit to the Middle East at 6:36.
John Bolton joins us, but now let's head back into that newsroom. And here's Richard Johnson.
Good morning. It's 56 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 newsroom, I'm Rich Johnson. Chicago police are looking for 5 men who they say all opened fire on a 20-year-old man near UIC late last night. The victim died. The suspects drove off. Police say a 73-year-old man was shot and killed last night in Humboldt Park. No word on the identity of the victim, the whereabouts of the suspect, or a motive. Fire investigators are looking for the cause of a blaze in North Park yesterday that killed a 19-year-old woman and left another person injured. It happened in an apartment in the 5200 block of North Bernard Street. This report sponsored by the Low T Center. Guys, have you been thinking about starting TRT? The time is now. You can visit any Low T Center or Synergex and get your consultation and test free. Don't let low testosterone slow you down this spring. Get the energy you need at Synergex or Low T Center. The offer's limited. Book now at fixmylowt.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Larry Elder here. More than 200 members of Congress are standing up for AM radio listeners. The AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act will keep AM radio in cars because when cell and internet services are down, this free service could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 39179 and tell Congress to pass this critical legislation now. Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
8 years. It has been 8 years since QC Kinetics has been the nation's leader in non-surgical relief for joint pain. Hi, Amy Jacobson here, and this is remarkable. Using regenerative cell therapy to restore tissue in your achy joints. These are biologic growth factors with robust healing properties, carefully and strategically placed in your joint. Listen, it's a powerful and potent way to give your joints the new life and repairing old tissue. Best part, there's no drugs, no surgery, and no downtime. This is an all-natural option with lasting relief. Imagine doing all the things you enjoyed this summer without joint pain. Here's what I want you to do. Contact my good friends at QC Kinetics and ask for your free consultation. You have nothing to lose. Saturday appointments available. The number to call is 312-809-5955. That's 312-809-5955. 312-809-5955.
Right now, MyPillow is having 2 sales in one. The first is a closeout sale on Percale bed sheets. Any size and any color, just $25. That's right. You can even get queens, kings, split kings, and cow kings. Any size and any color, just $25. 11 colors to choose from. When they're gone, they're gone. The second sale is a new energy drink called Rev 7, a premium energy drink that is actually good for you. It tastes great and gives you energy all day. Plus, it has no sugar, no caffeine, so you don't experience those jitters and crashes that we've all been through with the other energy drinks. What makes Rev 7 so special is that it's powered with a premium nootropic that helps fuel your mind and provides the most efficient and cleanest fuel ever. For a limited time, get an introductory 3-pack absolutely free. These amazing offers won't last long, so order now. Just go to MyPillow.com and use promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201. Promo code LIBERTY or call 800-489-0201.
They took everything. Our equipment, our supplies, it's all gone.
It's devastating. Every order is going to be delayed for months, and our customers are going to find someone else.
I don't know if we'll ever recover from this. We're already getting calls from clients checking on their orders.
Who knows how long it will take to get back on our feet? What were we thinking not upgrading our security?
Don't let a break-in devastate your business. Protect yourself with Goldilocks. They'll create a customized security solution for you. From commercial doors with keyless entry to 24/7 alarm monitoring, they have you covered. Learn more at GoldilocksInc.com and have a security technician conduct an on-site assessment of your business. Plus, AM 560 listeners get their first 3 months of monitoring free with a new install. Call Goldilocks now. 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Goldilocks, Chicagoland's premier locksmith doors and security systems company since 1981.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
starting to look at some pretty significant delays now inbound on the Kennedy from Montrose into the Burns Circle interchange, about an 18-minute drive through that stretch, and then tack on another 10 minutes or so starting around Foster into Montrose. So really overall, you're looking at almost 30 minutes now from Foster down to the Circle interchange. The inbound Edens doesn't look terrible, although you are starting to back up as you approach the interchange at Montrose, merging onto the Kennedy. Inbound Eisenhower is slowing down. It's about 30 minutes or so from Wolf Road to the post office, with most of that coming with delays between Wolf Road and Des Plaines Avenue. On the inbound Stevenson, things don't look too bad. That earlier crash outbound on the Stevenson before the Tri-State has been cleared, and those delays are starting to clear up as well. The inbound Dan Ryan still doesn't look too bad from 95th Street. Traffic is a service of Dairy Queen. Get big summer flavor in every bite with the new DQ Summer Blizzard Treat Menu, featuring new mixing bowl mashup, fan-voted s'mores, and more. For a limited time right now at DQ, happy tastes good at participating locations. From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
Sun and clouds for today. Warm. A shower can't be ruled out. High 78. Clearing tonight. Low 59. Variable cloudiness. It'll be a breezy day tomorrow. Late day or evening thunderstorm. Could see some downpours. An isolated tornado. The high 90. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. Trump in Saudi Arabia yesterday had much to say on a number of topics, including on Iran. Let's start there. The tough talk, but with an extended hand, continues in the direction of Tehran. Essentially, Trump saying, it's your move, mullahs.
I want to make a deal with Iran. If I can make a deal with Iran, I'll be very happy if we're going to make your region and the world a safer place. But if Iran's leadership rejects this olive branch and continues to attack their neighbors, then we will have no choice but to inflict massive maximum pressure, drive Iranian oil exports to zero like I did before. You know that they were a virtually bankrupt country because of what I did. They had no money for terror. They had no money for Hamas or Hezbollah, and take all action required to stop the regime from ever having a nuclear weapon. Iran will never have a nuclear weapon. But with that said, Iran can have a much brighter future, but will never allow America and its allies to be threatened with terrorism or nuclear attack. The choice is theirs to make. We really want them to be a successful country. We want them to be a wonderful, safe, great country, but they cannot have a nuclear weapon. This is an offer that will not last forever. The time is right now for them to choose. Right now, we don't have a lot of time to wait.
For more on this, John Bolton joins us, former assistant to the President of National Security Affairs, author of The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. Ambassador Bolton, thanks for joining us. Appreciate it.
Glad to be with you.
Trump's comments on Iran, did that strike the right tone to you?
Well, I think trying to negotiate with the Ayatollahs is really a waste of oxygen. There's no evidence whatever they've given up their objective of getting deliverable nuclear weapons. I think they've been pounded by the Israelis directly on their ballistic missile production facilities in Iran. Their terrorist proxies, Hamas and Hezbollah, have been badly wounded. Their ally, the Assad regime in Syria, has fallen. So they need time, and they'd love to have a long negotiation with the United States to try and protect what's left of their missiles and their nuclear program. But I think we're really at the optimal moment where, as Trump has said, if he means this as an ultimatum, you prove you're willing to give up your nuclear weapons program now, or somebody, parenthesis, Israel, will take it away from you.
Is that's the reading between the lines you think Trump was indicating in that statement?
Well, I think that's one possible way. I think his negotiator, Steve Witkoff, who doesn't know anything about Iran, doesn't know anything about nuclear weapons. Trump himself conceded this and said, on Monday, you don't really need to know about any of that to negotiate. I think he's been lulled by the Iranian negotiators into thinking maybe there's a deal there. That would follow a pattern of multiple earlier administrations that tried to make a deal with the Iranians, always unsuccessfully, except on terms that were so advantageous for Iran that it almost guaranteed their path to nuclear weapons.
Well, but the Iranians have to, I assume they believe that Trump is serious about at least some pressure, and particularly when he essentially says in that venue, it's time for you to make a choice. I mean, he did walk away from the Obama-Biden nuclear glide path to nuclearization deal that they were trying to consummate. So, and the threat of sort of economic, deleterious economic impacts is not nothing. It's something that sort of starts taking you down a road when it comes to confrontation.
Well, look, I helped him walk away from that Obama deal when I was in the White House. I don't know whether that's what he's trying to do here or not, but I do think it would be politically humiliating for Trump if he agreed to a deal with Iran that was not radically different from the Obama deal. And so far, there haven't been any indications. In fact, all of the public statements by Iran are to the contrary, that they will not give up uranium enrichment. That was the central flaw of Obama's 2015 deal. We never should have agreed to allow Iran to do that. And if there's any hint that Trump is about to agree to it today, I really think the political backlash would be enormous here in this country. It's already started. Ted Cruz was saying the other day, there's some people in the administration that apparently don't understand what our red lines with Iran are. He's referring to Steve Witkoff, the negotiator. So I think people are watching this very closely.
Among the other big news out of yesterday's remarks is that he is lifting sanctions on Syria and normalizing relations with Damascus. Wall Street Journal editorial board opining that I guess, reformed al-Qaeda terrorist al-Shara, the dictator in Syria now. Wall Street Journal saying that Shara has said the right things about uniting his country and protecting minorities. He's also done the U.S. a favor by breaking Iran's stranglehold on Syria, making it difficult to resupply Hezbollah in Lebanon. There are good reasons to work with him, although they note there are some, obviously, very real concerns as well. What's your view on this overture that has been made?
Well, I think it's the wrong way to go about it. I mean, I do think that the opposition that al-Shara and his regime have to Iran is a big plus for the region. But they were formerly the al-Nusra al-Qaeda spinoff. They remain a foreign terrorist organization. And so I would have insisted on several things. Number one, a complete opening of files and information from the Assad regime on captured American hostages and really all foreign hostages that Assad had, opening up to inspection of the Assad regime's chemical and biological weapons facilities. This new regime is really trying to turn a new page. They don't want to have anything to do with hostages. They don't want to have anything to do with biological or chemical weapons. They should renounce all cooperation with terrorists. And I think tell the Russians to get out of their Tartus naval base and their air base a little bit further north in Latakia province. So I don't want just rhetoric from this new regime. I'd like to see performance. And if we got performance, sure, I'd be delighted to lift the sanctions at that point.
Ambassador Bolton, President Trump has left Saudi Arabia, has gotten $142 billion new arms deal and $600 billion in investments promised. He's on his way to Qatar. He just landed. What is your reaction, and what do you think he should do with the gracious offer of the 747 Dreamliner?
Well, it's a security problem that people, I think, are wrestling with right now. How much do you have to do to deconstruct that plane and then refit it with what we need to protect the president in what is really a flying office? It's not, I can speak as a former passenger on Air Force One. It's not a luxury aircraft. I mean, it's nice. There's no doubt about it. But it functions as an office, and you need very sophisticated communications equipment, defense equipment that we have in it, extra capabilities that most 747s don't have, like aerial refueling. So,
but he should accept it considering their relationship with Hamas.
Well, I think that's the first thing is just the operational consideration. Do you want to take a plane that somebody else has had in their possession for a number of years as opposed to taking it direct delivery from Boeing? It's interesting that many of the president's strongest supporters, Rand Paul, Laura Loomer, Eric Erickson, a number of other Republicans in Congress, have questioned the propriety of it. These are not Trump critics. These are Trump supporters, I think, worried about the negative reaction that it might produce if he did accept it.
Yeah, no question about that. John Bolton is a former assistant to the president for national security affairs, author of The Room Where It Happened, a White House memoir. Ambassador Bolton, thank you for joining us.
Well, thanks for having me.
Thank you. And he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
Connect with Dan and Amy using the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
Two guys drove to work. Neither guy wore a seatbelt. One guy got a ticket. One guy didn't. The same two guys drove home. One guy wore his seatbelt. One guy didn't. One guy made it home. The guy not wearing his seatbelt didn't. Don't risk it. Click it or ticket. Paid for by NHTSA.
Do you know someone with a drug or alcohol problem? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything. Stop the drug and alcohol nightmare. Are drug and alcohol problems hitting you too close to home? Get help right now. Insurance may cover everything.
800-694-1127. 800-694-1127. That's 800-694-1127.
Guys, spring is here. Time for gatherings with friends, family, and outdoor activities. But how are you going to keep up if low testosterone is draining your energy? The answer, TRT with Synergen X and Low T Center. They might seem convenient, but many online TRT services can be a hassle to get started. You end up spending hundreds of dollars and wasting time. Don't fall for it. Trust the experts at Synergen X and Low T Center. That's who I trust. They've been changing patients' lives for a combined 25 years. They understand what guys need. They're in person and make it easy to get started. You can start today with a free consultation and free testosterone test. Best thing about it, it's free and fast. They have on-site labs to process your test quickly, and if you qualify, you can start treatment that day. They have locations across Chicagoland, and for guys looking to lose a few pounds, Synergen X and Low T Center make it easy with prescription weight loss medications. Most major insurance is accepted, so you have no excuse. Offer is limited, so go right now to fixmylowt.com to book your appointment. That's fixmylowt.com. You'll be glad you did.
Honey, we're not moving, but we gotta do something about this kitchen.
Funny you mention it. I just stopped by Forever Remodeling's new showroom in Niles. I saw over a dozen kitchen and bathroom layouts they designed. They even offered to stop by the house and give us a free in-home design consultation.
What'd you tell them?
That we're free today?
Visit foreverremodeling.com today. That's the number 4, everremodeling.com. Forever Remodeling, stress-free and high-quality remodeling.
This is Seth Leibson for Townhall.com. When Brittany Griner was taken prisoner in Russia for bringing in illegal drugs, she became more famous as an American hostage than she ever was as an athlete. Media made her cause the cause of freedom, and her release was celebrated as America's victory. This week, American Adon Alexander was released from Hamas captivity after 19 months of torture. Most still don't know his name, but our media and the Democrats sure made known the detention of two others Adon Alexander's age, the Hamas propagandist Mahmoud Khalil and the illegal alien criminal gang member Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Their cases and causes were news everywhere. Thank God Adon Alexander has been released, but he was evidently the wrong kind of prisoner and hostage for the media and the left. Innocent, American, and Jewish, captured by Hamas. His name, play, and his torturous treatment in captivity deserved far more attention, and his release deserved far more celebration. Our nation needs some soul-searching. I'm Seth Leibson.
Does your garage floor look bad, cracked, or stained from Chicago's brutal winters? Contact my good friends at Level 10 Coatings. Level 10 brought my garage floor from dirty, gross, to showroom shiny new in just one day. Level 10 Coatings can do the same for you. A quick and easy fix, gleaming permanent solution. Guaranteed to never crack or chip. Mention me, Amy, for $500 off. Get it done now so you can enjoy your garage all summer long. Level 10 uses polyurea, which is superior to epoxy. One day and they're gone. They'll even help move your stuff out of your garage. Schedule your free quote today and mention Amy to receive $500 off. Just visit level10coatings.com. Level10coatings.com or call 855-510-2628. Again, that's 855-510-2628. Level 10 Coatings, your premier concrete coating experts.
Wow. At the time of this being written, both gold and silver are up some 40%. That's 40% in just 1 year. In fact, this past year, gold has broken all-time historic records by hundreds of dollars an ounce. And unlike all other financial instruments used today, that historic record goes back thousands of years. In times like these, prices have never been better on most collector and gold coins. Fox Valley Coins in Naperville is trying to keep up with demand. So they're paying the most ever on not only most gold coins and bars, but also those old coin and paper money collections. They're especially looking for the scarcer dates and higher grade coins. Take advantage of the record high market price and our huge demand now, whether you're buying or selling, or just want to find out their worth. Fox Valley Coins is the place to go. Fox Valley Coins is on Route 59, just one light north of I-88 at the Naperville-Warrenville border. Family-owned integrity since 1981.
If you're living with pain, see how Relief Factor can help.
I'm an artist and I'm in my studio. I listen to the radio all day and I'm hearing the ads about Relief Factor. And I've got pain in my neck and it's getting worse. And I'm thinking, well, I'm going to go ahead and order this. 2 weeks later, I've got much better range of motion. If you're experiencing pain at a certain point in life, I would get Relief Factor.
Fight pain naturally with Relief Factor. Go to ReliefFactor.com and get your 3-week quick start today. Only $19.95.
At Straight Talk, we are all about no-brainers. Calling Grandma for her recipe, no-brainer. Streaming one more episode at 2 a.m., big no-brainer. Getting real unlimited data where you buy bananas, the ultimate no-brainer. Switch now and get a free Samsung Galaxy A16 5G or Moto G Power 5G 2024 with select plans. Straight Talk, real unlimited data. Available at Walmart and straighttalk.com. Offer valid through 5/19/25. Taxes and fees apply. Requires in-store single line activation on qualifying plan. For network management practices, visit straighttalk.com/terms. Copyright 2025 Verizon.
Hey AM 560 listeners, Jeff checking in again from JeffBuysYourHouse.com. What I learned serving our great nation in the military is that every mission is unique and success starts with listening. For nearly 20 years, our veteran-led house buying team has taken the time to understand what matters most to each homeowner we serve. Every home has a story, and every seller has different needs. Whether you want a quick closing or need extra time to find your next place, we customize our approach around what works best for you. That's how we've earned hundreds of 5-star Google reviews and an A+ rating with the BBB, by putting relationships first. No repairs needed, no cleanout required, and you pick the closing date that works best for your schedule. At JeffBuysYourHouse.com, we're here to help you through the entire transition, not just the transaction. Are you ready to work with a local team that takes the time to understand your home selling needs? Sell your house to the trusted source by calling us today at 630-895-9530. That's 630-895-9530 or JeffBuysYourHouse.com.
Be prepared for tax changes in 2025. Without a solid strategy, you could risk losing more of your hard-earned savings than necessary. VestGen Wealth Partners can help develop proactive tax plans designed to help keep more money in your pockets. Visit GetRetiredStayRetired.com for a free review.
Advisory services offered through VestGen Advisors, LLC, an SEC registered investment advisor. Securities offered through Private Client Services, LLC, member FINRA and SIPC. Private Client Services and VestGen Advisors, LLC are unaffiliated entities. Any information discussed does not constitute investment advice. VestGen Advisors and Private Client Services do not offer tax legal advice.
AM 560, The Answer.
Dan and Amy, so the PGA is at Quail Hollow this weekend, PGA Championship. That's Charlotte, North Carolina. I'd probably take JT. Justin Thomas won when it was last year in 2017, and he's playing well. Hunter Mahan, former tour player, was asked about Quail Hollow, and he said this. I guess I would say Quail Hollow is like a Kardashian. It's very modern, beautiful, and well kept, but it lacks a soul or character.
Wow.
Yeah. Actually, I really like that. I like that. That's a very vivid description. A golf course is, like a woman in so many ways. Yes.
Yeah.
Very modern, beautiful, and well kept, but it lacks a soul or character. Good for Hunter Mahan. And by the way, I can kind of see, I've not played Quail Hollow, but I can kind of see that about it. I think I see what he's talking about. I see the Kardashian in Quail Hollow.
Really?
Yeah, coming up at 7:07, we'll turn our attention to the big, beautiful bill and its status with Wisconsin Senator Ron Johnson. That's 7:07.
Sunshine right now, chance of rain later. It's now 7 a.m. WIND Chicago.
It's the second stop on the Trump Middle East trip. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The president has arrived in Qatar and just is meeting now with the emir and the royal court, pushing for more investments in the U.S. and American businesses. On his way there, President Trump said on Air Force One it's possible he could go to Turkey tomorrow if there are face-to-face talks between Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky and Russian leader Vladimir Putin.
He would like me to be there, and that's a possibility. If we could end the war, I'd be thinking about that.
Saudi Arabia was the first stop on the trip, and Fox's Mark Meredith reports from the White House.
One of the biggest headlines to come out of that stop was his meeting with the new president of Syria. It's the first time in 25 years we've seen such a large exchange of diplomatic vows between the U.S. and Syria. The meeting only coming just hours after the U.S. announced plans to drop all sanctions on the Syrian regime.
Against Syria, to give them a fresh start. It gives them a chance for greatness. The sanctions were really crippling, very powerful.
The president also said he wants to do a deal with Iran, but it has to end its nuclear program, saying Iran cannot be allowed to build weapons. He also called for peace in Gaza, where new Israeli airstrikes targeted Hamas infrastructure. Palestinian officials say at least 60 people were killed, many of them children. Wisconsin Judge Hannah Dugan, accused of trying to help an illegal immigrant avoid deportation, has been indicted by a federal grand jury.
The Milwaukee County Circuit Judge faces charges of obstruction and harboring an individual due to face arrest, accused of directing an undocumented immigrant out a back door in her courtroom after learning immigration agents were in the courthouse searching for him.
That's Fox's Kristen Goodwin. The Menendez brothers could someday be set free. Eric and Lyle, resentenced in California to 50 years to life in prison for murdering their parents in 1989. They're now eligible for parole. Their attorney, Mark Garrigo, says
this encourages people who are incarcerated to make the right decisions, to take the right path.
The case got renewed attention over allegations they endured sexual abuse from their father. America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 56 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 newsroom, I'm Rich Johnson. There are extra police officers on duty around Mather High School today after a shooting yesterday afternoon left a 17-year-old wounded and hospitalized. Police say the boy was sitting in a car when someone approached him and shot him in the arm. The boy's in good condition at Evanston Hospital. No word on his identity, and police are still looking for the suspect. The Chicago Public Schools crisis team will be at the Mather campus today to support students and staff. Some others around the city were not so lucky in the past few hours. Police say a 73-year-old man was shot and killed last night in Humboldt Park. A 40-year-old man was shot and killed after an argument with someone at a gas station on South Stony Island. And police say 5 men all shot and killed a 20-year-old man near UIC late last night. The suspects remain at large. A federal grand jury has now indicted Milwaukee County Judge Hannah Dugan, accusing her of obstruction and trying to prevent ICE agents from arresting a man who is appearing before her. Dugan's currently suspended from her post while the case proceeds. Prosecutors say she allowed Eduardo Flores Ruiz and his lawyer to use a back exit from her courtroom to evade ICE agents who were trying to arrest him. Brace yourself for the annual uptick in ticks. Experts say this is shaping up to be a particularly bad year for the insects, even in urban areas. The biggest concern is for dog and deer ticks, which can spread Lyme disease and Rocky Mountain spotted fever. If you're heading to the woods, be sure to use insect repellent, wear long pants and long-sleeve shirts. And this tip, spray a little bit of that repellent on your socks and the tops of your shoes. This report sponsored by AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher here. Don't risk losing the trusted news, traffic, sports, and weather you get from AM radio stations. It's time to make your voice heard. We need Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act to keep AM radio in cars. When internet and cell service is out, AM could be your only lifeline. Text AM to 39179 and tell Congress to pass this critical legislation now. Text AM to 39179. Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 golf outing presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 18th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m., and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Air Ride Heating and Cooling, Goldilocks, Doors, Locks, and Security, and by Fox Valley Coins.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. There is a better way. Pure Talk, my sponsor, my wireless company, has a better offer. A brand new free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan for $35 a month. You get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
Hi, I'm Ken Mariotti, owner of Woodland Windows and Doors, a third-generation family-owned business since 1969. We know you're bombarded by choices when shopping for new windows or doors, so we're inviting you to experience the Woodland difference. For decades, we have been transforming living spaces with Marvin Windows, a fifth-generation family business. Marvin replacement windows have been known to increase the warmth of your cold rooms by 10 degrees. Think about that, 10 degrees warmer. When you welcome Woodland into your home, you will get a product expert to transform your living spaces, full-time, dedicated professional installers that you can trust in your home, along with the best products like Marvin. These are the reasons we're proud of our 5-star reviews and family legacy. No gimmicks, no pressure, and upfront pricing are why Woodland Windows and Doors is your trusted window and door expert in Chicagoland. Visit woodlandwindows.com to book your free in-home expert consultation. That's woodlandwindows.com, or stop by our showroom at the corner of Lake and Geary in Roselle.
Still plenty of brake lights on the inbound Kennedy, but no crashes to tell you about. It'll be about a 25-30 minute drive from Montrose to the Burn Circle interchange. Maybe tack on an extra 5 to 10 minutes from Austin down to Montrose. Outbound Kennedy from the loop up to Montrose is going to cost you about 25 to 30 minutes right now. A total of about 35 minutes to make that drive to Montrose, and then maybe some heavy traffic out to O'Hare, but not too bad once you get past that split. Inbound on the Eisenhower, it's about a 35-minute drive now from Wolf to the old post office, with most of that coming between Wolf and Central Park. Outbound Eisenhower looking at heavy delays now, about 35 minutes on the outbound side from the post office to Wolf. And you're looking at some heavy traffic now inbound on the Stevenson. It's about a 35-minute drive from the Tri-State to Lakeshore Drive. Traffic is a service of Goldilocks, offering Chicagoland state-of-the-art smart security systems to protect your home or business. AM 560 listeners receive 3 months of monitoring free with new installs. Get peace of mind by calling Goldilocks at 708-889-5600. Again, that's 708-889-5600. In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
Sunshine and clouds for this afternoon, high 78, clear tonight, low 59. Cloudy for tomorrow with a shower thunderstorm around late, high 90, and Friday's high 89. I'm Andy Robb on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Health Quest Radio with Dr. David Kolbaba. Saturday mornings at 11. Visit healthquestradio.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We have to get to developments with the big, beautiful bill. Not that the House Ways and Means tax bill is out, but before we do, a little bit more from Trump in Saudi Arabia yesterday, because he had a general sort of philosophical message that he delivered that was particularly directed at sort of the internationalists and the nation builders, both parties over the last several generations, and essentially the clean break that he has made with them.
The transformations have been unbelievably remarkable. Before our eyes, a new generation of leaders is transcending the ancient conflicts of tired divisions of the past and forging a future where the Middle East is defined by commerce, not chaos, where it exports technology, not terrorism, and where people of different nations, religions, and creeds are building cities together, not bombing each other out of existence. We don't want that. And it's crucial for the wider world to note this great transformation has not come from Western interventionists or flying people in beautiful planes giving you lectures on how to live and how to govern your own affairs. No, the gleaming marvels of Riyadh and Abu Dhabi were not created by the so-called nation builders, neocons, or liberal nonprofits like those who spent trillions and trillions of dollars failing to develop Kabul, Baghdad, so many other cities. Instead, the birth of a modern Middle East has been brought by the people of the region themselves, the people that are right here, the people that have lived here all their lives, developing your own sovereign countries, pursuing your own unique visions and charting your own destinies in your own way. It's really incredible what you've done. In the end, the so-called nation builders wrecked far more nations than they built, and the interventionists were intervening in complex societies that they did not even understand themselves. They told you how to do it, but they had no idea how to do it themselves. Peace, prosperity, and progress ultimately came not from a radical rejection of your heritage, but rather from embracing your national traditions and embracing that same heritage that you love so dearly.
Those in attendance seem to enjoy that. For more on this, Ron Johnson joins us, Republican Senator from Wisconsin, of course. Senator Johnson, thanks for being with us. Appreciate it.
Good morning. Listen, I think that's brilliant. What Trump was, that message he delivered, I'm sure the military-industrial complex doesn't like hearing it. But quite honestly, this is one of the main reasons that I totally support Donald Trump. I remember when Iran knocked down a drone, and the drumbeats of war were going, got to retaliate, and right before the strike, I think President Trump finally asked the question: "So, okay, how much did that drone cost?" It was a couple $1 million. So how many people are going to lose their lives in our retaliation? A few hundred. And he made the correct decision. That's not worth it. A $3 million drone isn't worth hundreds of lives. Many of them, if not most of them, innocent. So I've always felt that he was probably the least likely president in my lifetime to drag us into another war. He's trying to extract us from wars. They're not easy to do. But those comments, I hadn't heard them until just listening right now. First of all, they are brilliant. I think they are inspiring. And that's exactly the kind of leadership that I think the world needs coming from America. We're happy to help you out. We want to engage in commerce and do it do it fairly. But we respect your sovereignty. We respect your cultures. You build your societies the way you want to, as long as you don't threaten us or others. Let's live and let live in peace. Again, I'm so glad I heard that, because I hadn't had time to listen to that. That is absolutely brilliant. I hope the world is inspired by what President Trump just said right there. Of course, half the world, if not more, will just utterly reject it because they came out of Trump's mouth.
Right.
Those are inspirational words he just uttered there.
And do you think that the gambles that he offered in those remarks as well, beyond that clip, but just in the remarks generally, normalizing relations with Syria, the overture to Saudi Arabia to formally recognize Israel, the time to make a decision message to Iran, those gambles are consistent and in furtherance of that vision, and they make sense?
Yes, he's seeking peace. It was John F. Kennedy that said the number one goal and responsibility of American president is to keep us out of war. That came from somebody who was in war and from a generation that understood how war was hell. Unfortunately, we have not heeded President Eisenhower's warning about the military-industrial complex, which I think has taken over and has driven so much. I mean, you take a look at our military interventions from Vietnam right on through, the Afghanistan, Iraq. We didn't accomplish the objectives. What's happening in Ukraine right now, it is actually solidifying the alliance between China and Russia and Iran and North Korea. That's not good. I mean, that's not accomplishing our strategic objectives here. So, I for one, am really appreciate the fact that President Trump is just charting a different course. Again, he's a disruptor, which is why so many people hate him. But he's, from my standpoint, disrupting a pretty corrupt system and something that has just led to war and misery. And there's been so much destruction. It's about time we look at peace and building things as opposed to destroying them, and always looking for somebody else to be kicked off at and somebody else to go to war with.
Is there enough disruption happening on the tax and spend side here back home? We poured over your op-ed in the Wall Street Journal yesterday, and I certainly want to give you a chance to explicate that in further detail, but also wanted to get your view on the tax bill out of the House Ways and Means Committee yesterday that extends the lower tax rates from the 2017 legislation across the board, and has provisions for expensing equipment purchasers and bonus depreciation for new factories and some of the other growth-oriented aspects of the 2017 bill, but also has, it's a sort of what your discussion was on the spend side. It's got a lot of other things that are sort of a hodgepodge of serving interests, not serving the larger interest of growth and American prosperity, including a sop to those blue state Republicans demanding an increase in the SALT deduction.
Yeah, I'm just asking everybody to take a look at the bigger picture here. We went on a spending spree because of COVID, an unprecedented event. Went from $4.4 trillion to $7 trillion this year, 58% increase. Population has grown a little more than 2%. It's unprecedented other than World War II, which, by the way, we went into World War II spending about 11.7% of our GDP. The federal government was spending that. Got up to 41%, but by 1948, President Truman and Congress realized that was unprecedented. We have to return to pre-war spending. We were back down to 11.4% of GDP. So it can be done. But we've gone from about 20.6 to almost 24% of GDP. Again, no family, if they had an illness, had to borrow $50,000 and spend it on medical bills. If that individual got well, they wouldn't keep borrowing $50,000 and keep spending that level. That's what we're doing. So no, we are blowing historic opportunity. There's really not overall principles and goals. It's just, as you said, just a hodgepodge of junk. It's not really designed to spur economic growth necessarily. Some of those things are. Listen, I would just extend the current tax code. I mean, if we weren't smart enough to do that in 2017, make it all permanent, we should do that now. We should provide the border funding. I need funding for defense, smart money for defense. I'm very concerned how we're going to actually spend it. But then we should have done that in a three-step process. Those things could have already been accomplished. Then we be getting down to the really hard part of what's a simpler or more rational tax system that raises the revenue we need. Don't do it economic and social engineering through the tax code. Just have a simple and rational tax system without expanding the deficit. And we have to get spending under control. I mean, we're going to spend $89 trillion over the next decade. At most, we'll save about 1.3%. Is what they're talking about right now. I mean, it's not even a rounding error. We're going to go from $37 trillion in debt to about $59 trillion. It's completely unsustainable, and most people here in Washington and around the country are just whistling by the graveyard. So I'm trying to point out those macro numbers, and I'm really trying to prod the White House to kind of wake up, rethink what they've done with this one big, beautiful bill, because it's pretty ugly right now. And let's go back to a multiple-step process, take care of the things we all agree on, and let's take the time to get the taxes and the spending right.
Well, where are some areas where
have you gotten any feedback from the White House or even from your own caucus on that?
Well, let's put it this way. Nobody can disagree with what I'm saying.
So they just say nothing?
What they say is they just immediately, but that ship has already sailed. And I say, well, call that ship back to port.
Yeah.
Because the other big, beautiful bill, that's the Titanic. That's going down. Okay, there's enough of us in the Senate that are demanding spending rationality here, okay? But I've got a great video, by the way, on my about a minute 30 of Republican leaders saying, we don't have a revenue problem, we have a spending problem.
Right.
Well, are we willing to fix it? So I'm just holding their feet to the fire. Say, listen, you've all said it's the spending, and we're all basically ignoring that.
Well, where's the first place you would cut spending?
I would do it across the board. Elon Musk has shown us how to do it. You have to do what private sector does. Go by line by line by line. Nobody's willing to do that. I proposed a budget review panel of senators, House members, members of the administration, sitting down, going line by line with the secretaries and their budget, justify every line, justify the $7,000 billion you're spending. And if you do that, my earlier proposals where you take past year's total outlays, increase them by population growth and inflation, leaving Social Security, Medicare, and interest alone, we'd be somewhere between $5.5 and $6.5 trillion versus $7 trillion. So you have to do the work. We're not doing the work. We're rushing it the same old way we always do it, exempt most programs, take a look at a few, say, well, we can tweak those. That won't be so politically unpopular. We'll get a score, clap our hands together and say, look at what a great job we did. And in fact, what we're going to do is we're going to actually increase the deficit over the next 10 years. We're going to increase the debt. We're not banging the curve down. We're increasing it dramatically. We're not addressing the real problem, which is spending.
I would suspect that you have some allies within Trump's inner circle on this topic, like Russ Vought, the OMB director. I mean, and you know, that maybe there's limited things that they can do, but do you feel like you're just one voice in the wilderness, or there are other people who are pushing, and some can speak up and some have to be more careful?
No, this is my third column that ran the Wall Street Journal. It's kind of a part of a series, and it's gaining traction. And I've got a lot of people that, I agree with everything you say, but then they throw the towel in. But no, people realize, nobody's refuting what I'm saying. They'll look down at their shoes kind of guiltily if they're not willing to support it. But again, that's why I got to dig my heels. And just like I did in the 2017 tax cut, when all we were going to do is cut taxes for 5% of American businesses and C Corps. And I said, nope, not going to vote for this thing until every American business can compete on a reasonably level footing. Yeah, you also have to address the pass-through. So people know I'm serious about this. And again, I'm digging my heels in.
So what are your must-haves, even if they're sort of like general metrics on both the tax and spend side?
So I've always said it's a return to a reasonable pre-pandemic level spending, and I'm open on that, but a process to achieve it and maintain it. I come from manufacturing. You don't have a good product if you don't have a good process. We've never had a process to control spending. We don't have a balanced budget requirement. The Budget Act didn't do it. Simpson-Bowles didn't do it. The Budget Control Act didn't do it. So what I'm suggesting is what DOGE has done. Line-by-line review, expose all this spending to the public. Again, I literally think you could go through the $7,000 billion we spend, probably hundreds of billions of dollars that if you said, we're not going to spend it, nobody would notice it. Nobody would notice it.
And it's, in one of the one of the arguments, like path of least resistance argument, says, well, we, like you said, the ship has said, we don't have time. We got to get this done before the summer recess and so on and so forth. Is there any reason if you got an audience with Trump on this and he decided Senator Johnson is making sense, we should choose the path that he is charting for us, that this couldn't get done within the same time horizon?
Well, first of all, I've had a couple of audiences with him with the Budget Committee and Finance Committee. I've shown him my data. He said, I love this. I love this. But then, it's not his staff or anybody else just not following through. Because, listen, cutting spending is hard.
Yeah.
There's a constituency for every dollar. So you take the path of least resistance. I mean, Trump, Trump. I mean, the guy's brilliant. Look at what, again, I'm just singing his praises from what he said. So he's paints in broad strokes. So he loves the concept of one big, beautiful bill. I just hate to say he was just wrong. We should have done this multiple steps, border funding, defense, extend current tax law, take a massive automatic tax increase, which was a mistake of the Tax Cut and Jobs Act. Okay, correct that mistake by just extending current tax law, then take the time to get a rational and simple tax system in place. And we need to debate these things. I love the fact he's focusing on working men and women in this country, but I'll take a look at some of these things. No tax on some overtime. That would be an accounting nightmare. Plus, I think people have enough incentive of getting time and a half or double time for their overtime. I don't think that's necessarily a smart thing to do. Plus, it's going to encourage public sector unions who refuse to go to 4 shifts on continuous shift operation. It increases the cost. It's hard on them, but they like the overtime pay. So, again, when you micromanage the economy to that extent, you just screw things up. So I'm not a supporter of, for example, no tax on overtime. I think that's not a good idea. I'd like to have time to debate that rather than just shove it in because President Trump said so. So,
but just to be clear from your op-ed, right now in terms of what is currently constituting the big beautiful bill, you say that doesn't have the votes in the Senate.
Again, you never know what happens when you're right down to crunch time, which is why they package this stuff up. Oh, you're going to vote to allow the government to default?
Yeah,
you're going to vote to make sure. Okay, that's why they package a few kind of must-haves into a bunch of crap to force you to vote for it. Which is, by the way, why we're at $37 trillion in debt. That's how this has worked. This is why we're at $37 trillion in debt. It's time to start busting that up. Let's start focusing on smaller bills that accomplish individual objectives that we all agree on, and take the time on the more controversial things where we need time to analyze it, to debate it, to look at each one of these proposals and go, that's really not a very good idea, or that's a great idea. But we need the time to do it. We're not taking the time. It's just going to be shoved down people's throats. And right now, because we're not addressing spending, not even close, I'm just saying I'm no.
He is Wisconsin Republican Senator Ron Johnson. Senator Johnson, thanks as always. Appreciate your time.
Have a great day.
You too, and he joined us on our turnkey.pro answer line.
The more you listen, the more you'll know. This is Chicago's Morning Answer. Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
Patrick was way behind on his IRS taxes.
I was in way over my head. The total amount ended up being somewhere just over $30,000. $30,000.
Then the IRS came to collect.
Started getting letter after letter. A lien had been filed against me. They were going to basically hang me completely out to dry.
He had to do something.
That's when I reached out to Optima Tax Relief.
Patrick's life quickly got a lot easier.
It was very easy, pretty much hands off. They picked up the ball and ran with it.
And how'd it go?
I couldn't believe it. I had to ask 2 or 3 times. I saved an incredible amount of money.
How does Patrick feel about Optima?
Couldn't be happier. They definitely helped me. Optima Tax Relief, the best place to call. They're the best in the business.
Do what Patrick did and call Optima Tax Relief for a free consultation. Call 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. 800-965-1433. Optima Tax Relief. Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
Reliability isn't optional when business security is on the line. It's essential. Businesses trust alarm detection systems for the highest level of service and expertise. Think about the time you could save using one source for cameras, keycard access, fire, and intrusion systems. ADS offers expert alarm installation and testing by highly trained technicians, 24/7 professional monitoring, same-day or next-day service upon request because downtime isn't an option, dedicated teams for cameras, access control, and fire alarms. More than 300 security professionals working for you. Choosing ADS means your business stays protected and will be ready to open tomorrow. They combine human monitoring with the latest AI camera technology to prevent crime in real time. Trusted by small and large businesses alike, including many Chicagoland schools, their security experts will review your system for free. All you do is go to adsalarm.com and schedule that appointment today. That's adsalarm.com. Alarm detection systems, the first choice of Chicagoland businesses, including right here, AM 560 The Answer and Salem Media Chicago. Alarm detection systems, adsalarm.com is that website. Alarm license 127000143.
Hey, John. Need any help over there?
Oh, hey, Chris. Oh, I'm good. Just digging some new flower beds and planting a couple shrubs.
You sure you should be doing that? You know, with your high blood pressure and all?
It's all good. I got my blood pressure under control now.
Really? New medication?
No, a superfood juice that is absolutely delicious.
A juice?
Yeah, it's 120 Life. It has 6 natural ingredients that have shown to control blood pressure.
Wow, in a juice?
Yep. So controlling my blood pressure tastes great and I feel great.
I wonder if 120 Life could fix my procrastination getting yard work done.
Not sure about that, but it sure helped me.
Certainly has. You and your yard look great.
Try 120 Life risk-free and get a 2-week trial pack. Order the 8-ounce drink or powdered mix. Go to 120life.com and use coupon code 560 to save 15% and get free shipping. They're so sure it can noticeably lower your blood pressure in 2 weeks, they'll give your money back if you're not satisfied. Order now. 120life.com. Use coupon code 560 at checkout to save 15% and get free shipping.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 7:37, I bet you can't guess who has, which state, when I say who, which state has the best 4th grade schools in the country.
Ooh.
Which state has the best 4th graders in the country?
And why? But first, let's head into that newsroom once again and say good morning to Richard Johnson.
Good morning. It's 56 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 newsroom, I'm Rich Johnson. Crisis counselors and extra police officers will be at Mather High today after a 17-year-old was shot yesterday afternoon. He's in good condition at Evanston Hospital. The shooter remains at large. A Chicago City Council committee has approved an ordinance that would mandate more data from the owners of short-term rentals, including the maximum occupancy of a unit. The goal is to cut down on noise that some neighbors say turn places like Wrigleyville into frat house rows during summer nights. A Chicago City Council committee has approved dropping the requirements of a college diploma for most city jobs, eliminating what they call the paper ceiling. This report sponsored by AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Have you been getting high quotes for dental implants? With medical PPO insurance, it's possible to save 90% on average. See if you qualify today at AlmostFreeTeeth.com. Making smiles great again. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Huber, co-developer of Virago, the immune enhancement cocktail. Did you know that the 23 natural ingredients in Virago are not only an immune enhancer, but also support and protect your heart, lungs, brain, and kidneys? These organs are negatively affected by numerous diseases such as diabetes, hypertension, and chronic inflammation. The natural ingredients in Virago, such as luteolin and fisetin, protect and improve the cognitive function in your brain. The uracilic acid in Virago protects and improves kidney functions, whereas quercetin protects and improves heart function. These are just a few of the natural ingredients that provide a synergistic effect. Virago, inspiring healthy choices.
Boost your immune system with Virago. Order your bottle of Virago today. Order online at myvirago.com and use coupon code IMMUNE to save 30%. Maha and Virago, making America healthy again.
It's almost time once again for the annual AM 560 golf outing, presented by Signature Bank. And this year, AM 560 is proud to partner with the Tunnel to Towers Foundation to help them support America's first responder and military heroes, including homeless veterans, and to help America never forget 9/11. This year, our golf outing is happening on Wednesday, June 18th at McRae Memorial Golf Club in Barrington. When you purchase a foursome to join us, you'll enjoy a full day of golf, meals, an awards reception, and a silent auction. And if you're a business owner, when you purchase a foursome, you'll also receive an AM 560 marketing campaign, which includes 25 one-minute commercials to air on AM 560 Monday through Friday between 5 a.m. and 8 p.m., and a free digital marketing analysis. Reserve your foursome today at 560theanswer.com/golf. That's 560theanswer.com/golf. Sponsored in part by Air Ride Heating and Cooling, Goldilocks, Doors, Locks, and Security, and by Fox Valley Coins. Larry Elder sees the tariffs working on China.
At least 16 million jobs among many industries in China are at risk due to President Trump's imposition of a 145% tariff on Chinese imports, according to analysis from Goldman Sachs. According to the New York Post, headline, despite their denials, China is losing the tariff war and is retreating as fast as it can.
The Larry Elder Show. Weeknights at 8, right before Sean Hannity at 10 on AM 560. The Answer. Gain insight into building strong marriages and raising godly children with Focus on the Family with Jim Daly each weekday at 11:30 a.m. on our sister station, AM 1160. Hope for your life.
Stop feeling embarrassed about thinning hair and start looking and feeling your best with Hair Grow by New Nordic. Available online at Amazon, Walmart.com, and NewNordicUSA.com, or at your local CVS.
Well, the good news is this morning, no crashes to tell you about on the expressways. The bad news is there's plenty of brake lights to tell you about. It's a 35-minute drive now on the inbound Kennedy from Montrose to the Burns Circle interchange, and tack on another 10 minutes approaching Montrose, starting at around Central Avenue. The outbound Kennedy's looking at about a 30-minute drive from the loop up to Montrose, and then tack on another 20 from there up to O'Hare. Meanwhile, on the Eisenhower, it's about a 30-minute drive on the outbound side, 40 minutes on the inbound side between Wolf and the post office, with the worst of those slowdowns coming between Central Park and Oak Park in either direction of the Eisenhower. Inbound Stevenson, the busiest traffic you'll see is between Harlem and Pulaski. It's about a 50-minute drive now from 355 to Lakeshore Drive. Traffic is a service of Macy's. What will you find at Macy's Backstage? How about essential warm weather styles just $30 and under, like dresses, shoes, and bags, men's and even kids' looks. Find the latest trends, new arrivals, and great prices at a Macy's Backstage store near you. From the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
Sun and clouds for today. Warm shower can't be ruled out. High 78. Clearing tonight, low 59. Variable cloudiness. It'll be a breezy day tomorrow. Late day or evening thunderstorm. Could see some downpours. An isolated tornado. The high 90. I'm Steve Williams on AM 560. The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Scott Tucker Solutions and his show Retirement Decoded. Sunday mornings at 8. Learn more at scotttuckersolutions.com.
Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. There is one state that has the number one fourth grade math scores, the number one fourth grade reading scores.
Wow.
The number one eighth grade math scores.
Ooh.
The number fourth rated English grade reading scores in eighth grade.
I think I know.
Number
the
one and
states.
fourth reading and math.
Uh-huh.
Number one and eighth in math. Number four in reading and math. That state is which state?
Well, it's not Illinois. I'm guessing. Can I get two guesses? Utah or Iowa?
Mm-hmm. Nope.
Really? Florida? No.
Nope.
Indiana? No.
Mississippi.
Mississippi? They're always at the bottom of the list for everything.
Yeah.
Unless you're talking about obesity.
Well, yeah. I mean, this was a state that's been ridiculed,
Right.
as most of the SEC states have. Remember the SNL presidential debate where Phil Hartman played Bill Clinton, and it was like who played Songus? I can't remember. But anyways, the '92 presidential debates back in the day when Saturday Night Live was funny, and and Phil Hartman did the Clinton was being criticized as being a governor of a backward state, Arkansas,
Right.
and then Clinton's response was like, I'm proud to say that, when I took over, we were 49th in the prevention of rickets, and we've shot past Mississippi to 47th. We're coming for you, Alabama. Something like that, right?
Yeah.
This is the ridicule us cosmopolitan Northerners heap on the southern states.
And it's fueled by the Democratic-led media, who's like, they're racist, they're white, they're stupid. They're Trump supporters.
Well, they actually have pretty significant black populations in places like Alabama and Mississippi, but I digress. Good piece in the Free Press. You read that right. Mississippi is taking names. In 2003, only D.C. had more fourth graders in the lowest achievement level on the national NAEP reading test than Mississippi. By 2024, only 4 states had fewer. When the Urban Institute adjusted national test results for student demographics, Mississippi ranks 1 in 4th grade math, 1 in 4th grade reading, 1 in 8th grade math, 4th and 8th grade reading. I can't say it enough. How about black students?
How did they do it?
We'll get to it. How about black students? The root of Mississippi's bad reputation, it's its historically awful record on civil rights, including its refusal to integrate. That was then. Yeah, this just in for the identitarian left. It is not 1963 in Mississippi anymore. Black students in Mississippi posted the 3rd highest 4th grade reading scores in the nation. They walloped their counterparts in better funded states. The average black student in Mississippi performed about 1.5 grade levels ahead of the average black student in Wisconsin. Just think about that for a moment. Per this Free Press piece. Wisconsin spends about 35% more per pupil to achieve worse results. And I mean, markedly worse. 1.5 grade levels ahead of the average black student in Wisconsin, Mississippi versus Wisconsin. By the way, if you're comparing it to Illinois, depending on whose per pupil expenditure numbers you want to review, at the K through 12 level, Illinois spends anywhere between 75% to 100% more than Mississippi to produce inferior results. And including inferior results when you dig into the demographics. So, what say you, Stacey Davis Gates and BLM Brandon and Jelly Belly and the entire power structure of the city and the state? Mississippi has fellow Southern stars. Louisiana was the only state to fully erase pandemic learning loss among 4th grade readers. It ranked in the top 5 for all 4 NAEP grades and subjects in the demographically adjusted results. Alabama was the only state whose 4th graders beat their pre-COVID performance in math. And in years past, notable gains have been posted in Florida, Tennessee, and Texas. Again, just to give credit where credit is due, bringing you the story, Tim Daly over at the Free Press. The stories of the successes, of course, as you just mentioned, Amy. Tim Daly describes it this way. There has been, shall we say, a reluctance among national voices to extol Deep South examples of worthy of emulation by their so-called better-off peers. You can't go around Maine. You can't go around saying Maine ought to visit Mississippi to learn how to teach reading. It's insulting. You could ruin a cocktail party, for heaven's sakes. After all, Maine has Kenny Bunkport and Mississippi just has Biloxi. Exactly. Us cosmopolitan sophisticates in big cities like Chicago and all those well-heeled suburban luminaries. You can't tell them, if if you want to teach your kids how to read in Hinsdale, you should see what they're doing in Mississippi. What?
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on the same line.
Although one has to acknowledge that it's very interesting, and we've talked about this before, how many of the graduates of the top suburban government schools are going to SEC schools these days.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
It's the cool thing to do.
The story of Mississippi, in part, Mississippi, like the majority of the rest of the states, and unlike Illinois, has ed choice programs. They have equal opportunities savings accounts, education savings accounts, where you're able to fund a savings account tax-free for students with special needs. There's a dyslexia therapy scholarship for students with dyslexia. There's a speech-language scholarship for students with disabilities. They don't have too many charter schools, but they do have a few. Mississippi also allows parents to transfer to traditional public schools outside of their district via an open enrollment policy. And they have magnet schools as well. So they have not as robust a school choice program as, say, Texas just instituted, or to some extent Wisconsin and Indiana have enjoyed, but it's certainly part of the formula. Parents who are interested in their kids' future and they don't feel like the school is the best fit, they can move. They're not discriminated against based on their address and household income like they are in Chicagoland in Illinois. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro text line. I'll post this. Please download it and share it with your friends. Maybe just even spring it on them at the next school board meeting or the next PTA meeting or the next cocktail party. Have you heard the good news coming out of Mississippi?
Yeah, let everybody know.
I love this. Deborah in Arlington Heights.
Hi, Dan and Amy. So my kids are already out of school, and I can tell you what mistakes I saw when they were in school. They stopped teaching phonics. They started teaching Chicago math. They don't teach cursive anymore. And then we're going to go back to me. I went to Catholic grade school, and when I switched to public school, we were way ahead of the public school. But I think those things that I just mentioned are detrimental to kids not learning like they should. That's what I think some of the problems are.
It definitely is. Thanks for the call, Deborah. Remember, Mississippi is the poorest state in the country.
Right.
Huh. Oh, so poor kids can learn. Well, that runs afoul of the shibboleths from the teachers union and all these educrats and all these teachers union-owned politicians.
Well, and that leads us to this text message. Dan and Amy, I'd like to see the correlation of test scores with teachers union influence.
Tough to measure, but I mean, the way to measure that is to look at choice, where you don't have to be relegated to what the teachers union imposes upon you. Grace Brazil, a policy associate with the advocacy group Mississippi First, the state to explain how this happened. The state implemented a series of changes starting with the 2013 Literacy-Based Promotion Act. The law funded the State Department of Education to hire, train, and deploy literacy coaches to the 50 lowest performing schools. It also required schools to administer universal screenings to identify students with reading deficiencies early and to communicate those results to parents. And it required schools to hold back students. Oh, here we go. Required students to hold back students who were not reaching a certain threshold by third grade. No social promotion. Edweek's Elizabeth Hubeck reported in 2023 that the state spent $15 million per year to support its literacy work, and 60% of that went to coaching and intervention staff. A research paper from the University of Toronto found that law helped drive the state's gains in reading. University of Toronto research paper estimated the third grade retention policy alone could be responsible for about 1/4 of the gains. And of course, it was a controversial element. Research on third grade retention policies have found that students who are retained tend to have better long-term outcomes than those who are not. But the process for identifying those students can be biased against Black, Hispanic, and low-income students. That's what they argue. But they decided instead what matters most is not the student's race, but the student's aptitude, and also what the policy does to adult behavior. Mississippi required schools to notify parents when their child was off track and craft individual reading plans for those with reading deficiencies. So the suggestion is you change the incentives. You don't just get to make this kid somebody else's problem, essentially. You let somebody else try and catch him up. I give up. No. Nope. There's other studies that suggest that retention policy rather than social promotion have positive effects. Mm-hmm. And they don't talk as much about school choice, but that's certainly part of the mix as well. So this is the important part of the conversation. I spent a lot of time talking about school choice because you have to change the way money flows and who's in charge of spending decisions if you want to change any system. And the central planning Politburo model is not something that should be retained, with the teachers union effectively in control of the spend. Now, that clearly doesn't work. We have, I think the evidence is in and pretty overwhelming. But this is not, one of the shibboleths they use to cover their barbarism. I don't know how else to put it. Is defunding the public schools, attacking the public schools. You want to eliminate the government schools? No. Nope. I'm happy to go down the path that Mississippi is going down, where there are performance-based metrics and nobody gets, for example, passed on if they're not making them. We're not sending kids to high school, government or private. We're not sending, but mainly we're talking about government schools that are reading at fourth grade level. We're not doing that because they're done. Those kids are done. So we're not going to just throw in the towel in third grade or second grade or fourth grade for that matter.
No.
But that's what we do. We don't say we do that, and we come up with excuses that we did our best, but no. It's not true.
They're never going to learn.
And this is the beauty. And this is the beauty of 50 laboratories of democracy. It's easy to point out the meth labs. Roger DeKalb.
Yes. Last summer, my son and his wife moved their family out of Illinois because of the schools. They did their research, and they actually thought about Mississippi, but they settled on Kentucky because they wanted to stay within a 7 or 8 hour drive. They picked Boyle County, Kentucky, which is a rural South Central Kentucky county, but Kentucky, like Mississippi, is open enrollment, so you can go anywhere you want. Boyle County schools are always rated top 3 down in Kentucky. So my granddaughter started, 2 of them. One was 13 and one was 9. The 9-year-old started in Illinois in kindergarten a year and a half on computers. It about crushed her soul. She was a year and a half behind in reading when she got down there.
Yeah.
She's already caught up, and she's already caught up in math. And my 13-year-old, who's like, that's the terrifying one, it's like she's adjusted so well. They're so much more happier. Kids are happy. My 9-year-old told my son a month after going, was like, I like it here because the kids are just so much nicer. So you don't have to go far to get out of Illinois schools. And my son left a 60-year-old family business. His wife was a nurse, and they just went there with nothing. So they got out.
Thanks for the call, Roger. Jim, Crown Point.
There was a book, I don't remember the name. It was a teacher from Kentucky, taught his high schoolers on their own time calculus. They competed against other schools and wiped them up. I think that if these illegal immigrants come to Illinois, it would be unwise because we can't even teach kids that already speak English.
Yeah. Thanks for the call, Jim. And there's a study that over at EdNext that was done by Paul Peterson and Michael Hartney, showing that red states, as defined by the 24 presidential election outcomes, overtaking their blue counterparts academically. You know, this is one of the things that you denigrate the South, and these are the slack-jawed yokels that vote for people like Trump. They're ill-educated. They're not enlightened like the people who live in Wilmette. Right. red states overtaking their blue counterparts academically. 2019, blue states had higher average NAEP scores in all four major tests, 4th and 8th grade reading and math. By 2024, red states had taken the lead in 3 of the 4. And you would think, just as you would think with the mass exodus out of blue states, that would change behavior. But of course, counterintuitively, we understand that from our experience in Illinois is the worse they make it, the better it gets for them, because people who are sensible and freedom-oriented and results-driven leave. Tom in Blue Island.
Hey, good morning, Dan and Amy. So, Dan, it seems to me that since the grades since they've achieved what they have in 4th grade, that it's indisputable evidence that the program they have is working, because you figure you start in school 1st, 2nd grade, it's by the time these kids they're being forced to succeed. After a couple of years, they are succeeding. And I mean, can it not be argued that it's saving these kids' lives?
No, yes, I don't think you can disagree with that. Thanks for the call, Tom. I mean, and any educator worth their salt will tell you, you don't have kids reading and doing math at grade level, by 4th grade, you're in jeopardy of losing them. And they're never, and in terms of never catching up.
Right.
And those, the critical thinking skills that come with reading and math aptitude, in a economy that's driven by gray matter, not brawn, it's just becoming more important. So I don't know. I don't know if that instigates if this got wide circulation, if that would instigate any reconsideration in Chicagoland by some of these, I don't know, Marxist automatons that care only about their feelings and playing the identitarian political game. I don't know what it takes to get people whose heads are in the clouds back on terra firma. I don't know. Well, I guess you can just continue telling the stories and hopefully shaming them into what they are a party to. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Poor kids are just as bright and just as talented as white kids.
It's like a hot, steaming cup of information to start your day. It's Chicago's Morning Answer on AM 560. The Answer.
This is a special alert during this window replacement season. Don't get tricked by the cheapest offers and gimmicky ads. Now's the time to see and feel the difference of high-performance windows from Valdecas.
When it's time to consider new windows, siding, and doors for your home, you need to look no further. Sebastian Gorka here to tell you about Valdecas. Valdecas has been the trusted name chosen by thousands of homeowners, and they should be your number one choice too. But what's really behind the name Valdecas? Over 25 years of a team dedicated to providing you with the best customer service experience and products that truly bring value to your home. They are a Pella Platinum Elite Status certified contractor for a reason. They have an A+ rating with the BBB, as well as high ratings and positive reviews on both Google and Houzz. Schedule your free in-house consultation at Valdecas.com.
Ask about their exclusive manufacturer warranties and their 10-year workmanship guarantee.
Don't wait. Book today at Valdecas.com. For the best in class, it's Valdecas.
All right. So excited about my new security system. When I come in, I put in the code. When I leave, I put up the code. Yes, because I'm trying to keep criminals away. And criminals are looking for easy targets, and they're getting more coordinated and bolder, even entering homes with families inside. So they watch you first, they see your routine, and when they decide to make their move, there's no warning. So Goldilocks state-of-the-art smart home security systems is on it. They don't just record crime, they prevent it. With Goldilocks real-time monitoring, the police are notified immediately. Every second counts if someone broke into your home. Goldilocks has given my family and myself much-needed peace of mind. They also offer commercial security systems for any size business. We want to help those like-minded businesses out there. So call Goldilocks today. if you want to install a new security system. Goldilocks has hundreds of 5-star Google reviews, and they have served Chicagoland since 1981. Tell them Amy Jacobson sent you, and Goldilocks will include 3 months of monitoring for free with any new install. Call them today, 708-889-5600. That's 708-889-5600. Again, 708-889-5600, or visit them online at GoldilocksInc.com.
At AlmostFreeTeeth.com, they're dedicated to making smiles great again. If you have medical PPO insurance, find out how you could save 90% off on average to get a beautiful dental implant supported smile. Check if you qualify right now at AlmostFreeTeeth.com.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right, coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
At 8:08, we'll talk to our friend, former Assistant U.S. Attorney, Southern District of New York, Andy McCarthy, on matters of law and order, including that Wisconsin judge now under indictment. That's 8:08.
Today, we're going to have warm conditions, some clouds and sun. A shower cannot be ruled out. A high near a pleasant 80 degrees. It is now 8 a.m. WIND Chicago.
He got a royal welcome again. I'm Dave Anthony. When President Trump arrived in Qatar, after getting similar treatment in Saudi Arabia, his first stop on this Middle East trip, the president just told the Emir of Qatar,
"We've liked each other and we've worked with each other, and now we can work in the highest capacity, and we'll bring peace."
Now, on his way there, the president told reporters on Air Force One he's still trying to work out a nuclear deal with Iran.
It's going to happen one way or the other. They can't have a nuclear weapon, so we'll either do it friendly or we'll do it very unfriendly, and that won't be pleasant.
But while in Saudi Arabia, there was a Trump meeting with Syria's interim president who had led the ousting of the Assad regime last year, and President Trump is lifting U.S. sanctions on Syria.
It gives them a chance for greatness. The sanctions were really crippling, very powerful.
After several federal judges ruled President Trump cannot invoke the rarely used 18th Century Alien Enemies Act to deport alleged gang members like he did in March, another judge says he can in a ruling specific to immigrants here illegally from Venezuela affiliated with the gang. The Menendez brothers are now eligible for parole after the life sentence was reduced for murdering their parents in 1989. Fox's Jonathan Hunt.
Lyle Menendez told the court, quote, "I killed my mother and father. I offer no excuse. I take full responsibility for my actions." While Eric said, "My actions were criminal, selfish, and cowardly. I take full responsibility. I am truly sorry." Los Angeles County DA Nathan Hochman still argues the brothers have not yet earned that freedom.
If you shotgun your parents and you brutally and viciously murder them, and then you actually set up a deliberate and willful scheme to do it, I think that's wrong in 1990, 1989, the mid-90s when they were tried, and it happens to also be wrong in 2025.
America's listening to Fox News.
Good morning. It's 57 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 newsroom, I'm Rich Johnson. A huge renovation project for the Central Loop is a step closer to reality. The Community Development Commission's recommending that the City Council approve the LaSalle Street Reimagine program. That would unlock millions in financing funds to convert the mostly vacant Clark Adams building into new apartments, many of them set aside as affordable units. Chicago Alderman Bennett Lawson's one of those behind a proposed ordinance to mandate more data from Airbnb landlords, especially maximum occupancy. Lawson's Wrigleyville neighborhood's a hotspot for short-term rentals, which neighbors complain renters turn into de facto frat houses during summer nights. Chicago police say an argument at a gas station led to a fatal shooting early this morning. A 40-year-old man's dead after the incident just after 1 in the 7400 block of South Stony Island. A 75-year-old man's dead after a crash last night near South 77th and Western. Police say they stopped a 29-year-old woman a few blocks away and arrested her. The driver of an SUV is under arrest after witnesses say he drove onto the Billy Caldwell golf course Monday evening and hit a golfer. The victim, a 70-year-old man, is in intensive care. Quite the scare at a Southside elementary school yesterday afternoon. Nearly 24 students consumed marijuana edibles. 11 got so sick they had to be hospitalized. We did very well in Yelp's latest rankings of the top 50 donut shops in America. Beacon Donuts ranks 13, Southside's Old Fashioned Donuts is number 49, and Crystal Lake's Country Donuts comes in at number 25. This report is sponsored by Quick Delivery Service. Visit quickdelivery.com when you need same-day delivery of your roots. Ground delivery when you need it from safe, licensed professionals. Go to quickdelivery.com now and schedule your delivery. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
I'm Jerry Willis, and this is the Fox Business Report.
Goldman Sachs and J.P. Morgan are cutting recession risks amid potential U.S. tariff deals, as well as the 90-day agreement with China that slashes recent tariffs. Goldman Sachs lowering its recession probability for the next 12 months from 45% to 35%. In a Reuters exclusive, Kraft Heinz is planning to invest $3 billion in upgrades to its 30 U.S. factories. The ketchup maker is the fifth largest food and beverage company in the world. Databricks striking a deal with Neon to purchase the database startup for about $1 billion. Databricks provides a cloud-based platform to help companies build AI solutions. It hopes the new deal will boost its capabilities in AI-powered data management. No timeline was given for when the deal might close. And that's your Fox Business Report. I'm Laura Cantor, invested in you.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm. If you own a timeshare, don't miss this public service announcement from Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group.
If you receive an unsolicited phone call or mail piece to discuss selling, renting, or especially canceling your timeshare, don't fall for it. If you really want out of your timeshare, hang the phone up immediately or throw that mail piece in the trash and contact your timeshare resort or Wesley Financial Group for assistance with your timeshare. As the only Inc. 500 timeshare cancellation company, our knowledge, experience, and results has made Wesley a trusted resource for over 40,000 families we've helped get out of their timeshare. Give us a call, and I'll send you our timeshare exit information kit free with the straight facts about your timeshare and all of your options for cancellation.
Call for your free info kit, 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484. 800-839-8484.
Don't get suckered into the same old free phone game by Big Wireless. There is a better way. Pure Talk, my sponsor, my wireless company, has a better offer. A brand new free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan for $35 a month. You get unlimited talk, unlimited text, 15 gigs of data, all on America's most dependable 5G network. Just dial pound 250, say the keyword Pure Talk for your free Samsung Galaxy with qualifying plan. Pure Talk, wireless by Americans for Americans.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288. 800-893-2288.
Guys, spring is here. Time for gatherings with friends, family, and outdoor activities. But how are you going to keep up if low testosterone is draining your energy? The answer, TRT with Synergen X and Low T Center. They might seem convenient, but many online TRT services can be a hassle to get started. You end up spending hundreds of dollars and wasting time. Don't fall for it. Trust the experts at Synergen X and Low T Center. That's who I trust. They've been changing patients' lives for a combined 25 years. They understand what guys need. They're in person and make it easy to get started. You can start today with a free consultation and free testosterone test. Best thing about it, it's free and fast. They have on-site labs to process your test quickly, and if you qualify, you can start treatment that day. They have locations across Chicagoland, and for guys looking to lose a few pounds, Synergen X and Low T Center make it easy with prescription weight loss medications. Most major insurance is accepted, so you have no excuse. Offer is limited, so go right now to fixmylowt.com to book your appointment. That's fixmylowt.com. You'll be glad you did.
Plenty of headaches on the inbound Kennedy this morning. It's almost a 45-minute drive now from Montrose to the Burn Circle interchange. Tack on another 10 minutes or so coming in from O'Hare, although that looks like it's getting a little bit better. The inbound Eisenhower is getting a little bit better as well, but it's still a 50-minute drive making your way in from Wolf to the post office, with most of that coming between Des Plaines and Central Park. Outbound Eisenhower is looking at a 35-minute drive between the post office and Wolf, with most of that delay coming between Cicero and Des Plaines now. There was an earlier stall inbound on the Stevenson right around Pulaski, and that's the reason for the heavy delays that stretch about 45 minutes now from the Tri-State into Lakeshore Drive. Outbound Stevenson doesn't look too bad, leaving the loop this morning. Traffic is a service of Anthony DeGrotto, your Chicagoland State Farm agent. His team will work to provide the best service you expect at the price you want. Like a good neighbor, Anthony DeGrotto State Farm is there. DeGrottoSF.com. In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
Sunshine and clouds for this afternoon. High 78, clear tonight, low 59. Cloudy for tomorrow with a shower thunderstorm around late. High 90 and Friday's high 89. I'm Andy Robb on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios. This is Chicago's Morning Answer with Dan Proft and Amy Jacobson on AM 560. The Answer.
Top of the morning, Dan and Amy. We have to get to this. It's not strictly a legal matter, although that does implicate some abrogation of your oath of office. I'm talking, of course, about the Biden White House and the lying that was done about the president's physical as well as cognitive state. Now that we have to endure this idea that, for example, Jake Tapper is some sort of whistleblower.
Oh, please. I know. And his book's coming out, and he cited 200 anonymous Democratic sources. And apparently George Clooney, or Biden didn't recognize George Clooney when he went to that fundraiser. Yeah. And that's why he wrote the op-ed. Don't you know who I am? Or you don't know who I am? And what a biggest insult for Hollywood elites.
Yeah, so Tapper was able to score an interview with CNN. It was a nice get.
And they got his contact.
He offered this little reveal about Biden and what the gatekeepers were concocting to prop him up.
The White House physician, Dr. Kevin O'Connor, was telling White House aides that President Biden's deterioration of his spine, the degeneration, was so significant that if he fell one more time, that he might have to be in a wheelchair and serve in a wheelchair for his second term. But everybody pushed off the notion that he used a wheelchair until after the election. This is all part of a larger whole where the Biden White House tried to hide the extent of his deterioration, both physical and cognitive, as much as possible. In fact, as we all know, we all saw, as his shuffling gait got worse and worse from 2003 to 2004, they started putting aides around him as he walked to Marine One, the helicopter. That was to kind of hide from public view how bad his gait was, how bad his walking was, his shuffling, and also in case he stumbled again to make sure somebody was there. And this is just of a piece of an overall campaign to try to conceal from the American people the extent to which the president was really struggling to do his job.
Oh, my God.
And then now, was part of that concealment people like you putting people like Ali Mayorkas on your show and credulously listening to them announce that the president is fine? I was just in a meeting with him. He's probing, he's exacting, he's as sharp as he's ever been, and so on and so forth. Well, he was pressed on that. Pressed on that. He was set up to sort of provide some sort of answer to that obvious question, the sorts of obvious questions they didn't ask when they were covering for Biden and the administration well into the middle of last year. And this is what Tapper came up with.
Alex Thompson and I were on the case, as were lots of other reporters, trying to figure out what was going on behind the scenes. But the bottom line is the White House was lying, not only to the press, not only to the public, but they were lying to members of their own cabinet. They were lying to White House staffers. They were lying to Democratic members of Congress, to donors about how bad things had gotten. And in fact, Alex and I started writing this book after the election of 2024, and we spoke with more than 200 people, most of whom, almost all of whom, were Democrats, and almost all of whom wouldn't be honest with us or wouldn't be candid with us until after the election. And then after the election, we found out all of these things that when you looked at what was going on with President Biden at the time, it probably doesn't surprise you the extent to which he was deteriorating. But now we have anecdotes and facts about what was really going on behind the scenes with details that Democrats wouldn't share with us until after Election Day.
Okay, so this is to say we made a good faith effort, but we were all lied to. And then those 200 Democrats that we talked to, they also made a good faith effort, but they were being lied to. There's an unnamed inner circle that was doing all the lying, but we're not going to name them. And we were all in the dark. So I'm a cabinet secretary, and I'm being lied to. Am I meeting with the president? Do I have questions as to why I can't meet with the president, why you want me to go over to meet the press and say he's exacting, he's probing? I've never been, in a more intellectually rigorous meeting than I was in my last meeting with Joe Biden. I mean, you're saying those things, and now everybody's the victim of a big lie that was perpetrated by an unnamed inner circle cabal. That's what that's what they want you to believe. I really do enjoy this, because this is part of the ongoing crack up of this new Marxist party.
And Senator Chuck Schumer, I mean, Casey Hunt from CNN, she was grilling him, and he wouldn't answer the question, and other reporters tried.
You said in June of last year, in my meetings with President Biden, I found him being command and impressive and wielding influence to make progress on key priorities. But in that same month, Biden apparently did not even recognize George Clooney at a fundraiser. Were you being straight with the American public?
Look, we're just looking forward.
Yeah,
that's what he said. We're just moving forward. Yeah, we're not.
It's time to move on.
Yeah.
Well, he's going to be, and he's being cast as one of the bad guys, and all the press corps, the good guys. But the whole point is they're the cabal, and they're just trying. But this is the same sort of cannibalization you see going on at the DNC, the same sort of cannibalization you see going on with Fetterman. They're just trying to protect themselves and their posture, and exile anybody who would present any threat to their power, reputation, political interests. That's what this is. Like there's somebody, Jake Tapper is acting as a whistleblower. I mean, it's so preposterous. Yeah. But go ahead, try and sell it. Just like you tried to sell Biden as exacting and probing. Andy McCarthy is former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney, Southern District of New York, contributing editor at National Review and author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thanks for joining us as always. Appreciate it.
My pleasure.
So just your view. I mean, I know you're the legal mind, but this is all part of the milieu in which we operate, and you have to have a view on these so-called journalists inside the Beltway.
Well, I used to call it the Democratic Media Alliance, and then at a certain point, I started to call it the Media Democratic Complex. I think I've been using that for over a decade, because I kind of kicked myself over thinking that the media was kind of an arm of the party. I actually thought over time that I had it backward. That the media is the mothership. It's the progressive hub, and the party is actually an extension of the media. It's not the other way around. So I just find it fascinating to have people who willfully ignored, and not only ignored, but attacked those of us who, had the temerity to notice Biden's decline, which how could you know? Look, I have to say Biden's decline was obvious, but there wasn't a lot there to begin with, Yeah. So I nevertheless, anyone who was paying attention could notice it. But if you mentioned it, they would go after you, hammer and tong. They even went after this special counsel, Robert Hur, who actually, I think, in the end was trying to protect Biden because he decided not, he said he wouldn't prosecute him. He wouldn't file an indictment, even though there was overwhelming evidence of guilt on the preposterous ground that, Biden was a well-meaning elderly man with a poor memory, which of course had nothing to do with whether he could have formed criminal intent when he was swiping all the classified documents. But they went after him for noticing. And now what we're supposed to believe is these people who now want you to believe it's not that they were in on it, it's that they were duped. They want you to believe they're reporting now. And I'm like, let's take it from your point of view. If you were actually duped, then why are you competent to report on anything? Because you were denying the things that everybody in America saw with their own eyes.
Right, which Jake Tapper now characterizes as being self-evident. But we just didn't have the substantiation. We're good journalists, Andy, so we had to get the substantiation before we could run with it. And that's where the lying came in, and that's how we were duped.
Yeah, but he didn't need the substantiation. When they were saying that Trump was, a clandestine agent of Russia, and all the various other things they said about him, for some reason, corroboration was not necessary. For some reason, it wasn't necessary to get scientific verification or any of that stuff. You could run with it. But with respect to Biden, where the evidence of sense was there for all to see, to the point that people who weren't political people, this was a running joke to them, right? Everybody in America knew. But these guys were the phalanx around Biden who actually attacked people who had the temerity to notice and comment on what was obvious to everyone. And now they want you to believe that they were duped and they're honest brokers who are going to now retail the story for us. It's ridiculous.
It is ridiculous. I wanted to get your reaction to sort of the developments, both with Judge Hannah Dugan from Milwaukee County, as well as with Rez Baraka, the mayor of Newark, and possibly other members of Congress that were also on scene in that melee with ICE over the weekend in Newark. We're hearing a lot of now from the left about you don't arrest your political opponents, and we heard this from celebrity J6 committee member Adam Kinzinger in response to yesterday's indictment of Hannah Dugan for felony charges, or for felony obstruction of a federal agency and for misdemeanor concealing a person to help them avoid arrest. This is Katie Couric and Adam Kinzinger pouring over it.
Let's talk about the arrest of that Wisconsin judge, Hannah Dugan, who was arrested by the FBI on suspicion that she had steered an undocumented immigrant through a side door to evade federal agents. Why is that such an outrage in your view?
So it's two things. First off, I didn't know it was illegal to, kind of hide somebody that has not been convicted necessarily by the feds. They wanted to deport him. I don't know all the details, but so is this saying that if you know somebody who's illegal and they're at your house and the police come, that it's illegal to say they're not there? That's kind of chilling, to be honest with you, if it's like that. I don't know all the details.
Chilling, Andy.
Yeah, well, the weasel hell is the I don't know all the details. That's what people make outrageous remarks and then they say, but I don't know all the details. In other words, let me say the most outrageous thing I can say, but you can't get on me for being 180 degrees wrong because I don't know all the details, Well, if you don't know all the details, then shut up.
Yep, exactly.
So here's the details. And look, I think that Judge Dugan has a defense here, but I don't think, to the extent that it may not be a winning defense. But I think
what's her defense?
Well, her defense is, let me get to Kinzinger first, and then I'll come back to what the defense is. Well, where Kinzinger is wrong is that the agents, when they showed up, told the judges that they had an administrative warrant for the removal of this character who was in front of her for domestic violence charges, right? So this isn't like somebody like, oh, gee, like maybe he's illegal. I don't know. I haven't checked this out. They told him they had a warrant. So this is somebody who they absolutely told the judges, and the judge knows exactly what an administrative warrant is. And the reason they had an administrative warrant is this guy had come into the country illegally about 12 years earlier and been kicked out. So if you re-enter after deportation, you don't have to go through the whole procedural rigmarole. They can find you and get you out of the country because it's not only a prosecutable crime to re-enter after deportation, it makes you automatically excludable. So this is not a situation where it was like there was some mystery about whether this guy was really illegal or not illegal. They had a warrant for him, and the judge knew that.
Well, not only that, she took the affirmative step, as I understand the facts. She took the affirmative step of sending them down to the chief judge's office for a review of their credentials, while she did the exit stage left with the guy that they wanted.
Yeah. Now, but the reason I think that she's going to have a defense, and mind you, this case, if it's a jury trial, it's going to take place in Milwaukee, where they elect the politicians who implement and impose these sanctuary policies. So, it's not the best place in the world for the Trump Justice Department to litigate this. But I think the defense they're going to have is that the agents don't have an arrangement with the state. Not just the state. I guess we're talking about the municipality of Milwaukee. Yeah. So, like in other places, the agents don't show up and suddenly let the judges know that they're going to try to arrest somebody. They have an arrangement where they go through the court and they go through the court security and all that. In Milwaukee, they have to just show up, which they like to try to do because they know the person's gone through a magnetometer and is probably unarmed. And if he tries to flee, it'll be in a small corridor area and they'll be able to control it. But the court doesn't like this. And the federal agents are using the state instrumentality of a city that follows sanctuary policies to try to effectuate federal law. If this was done in reverse, like if the New York City police were looking for somebody and they realized that the person was going to show up in federal court for a hearing and they decided to go to federal court and arrest the guy, the judges would go crazy. The court security would go crazy. Everybody would go crazy. So the judge is going to say that she doesn't believe her court, which is supposed to not be an instrumentality of law enforcement, it's supposed to be the place where people can come and get justice, that if the reputation of her court becomes that if you show up for your proceedings, you might be arrested by the feds, then people will stop showing up for their proceedings. And that this is a federalism issue. Everybody's talking about this as like Trump versus the judges. It's not Trump versus the judges. It's the feds versus the state. And what is the state required to do in terms of the enforcement of federal immigration law? And that's a more dicey, muddy area than we'd like to think. And I say that, look, I think what she did is reprehensible. But I'm telling you, as a lawyer, she's got to defend.
Well, she broke the law to protect those who are breaking the law. Which makes,
but she'll say that she thinks the feds were breaking the
law. Exactly.
Because the feds were coming and using their courthouse. And look, nobody would argue if the feds had decided to wait outside the courthouse and put the cuffs on him when he came out, nobody would have a complaint. But they used the state's proceedings in order to help them enforce federal law. And that's what she's going to complain about. Hopefully the jury will just say, we hear all that, but, you can't, usher a guy, an illegal alien with a warrant out the back door. But right. I don't know if that's what they'll do.
Well, that's the point, isn't it? I mean, as Tom Homan had said, you don't have to cooperate with us, but you can't obstruct us. And that's what she did with the affirmative steps that she took.
Right. Well, but she'll say the trespassers here were the feds.
Really? Then have them arrested.
Well, that's the next step, actually, Dan, now that you mention it.
Yeah, well, what about Congresswoman MacGyver?
That's what happens in these things if they get hot.
Yeah, I know you saw the video because I saw you on Fox News with Congresswoman MacGyver who, hip-checked or belly-checked an ICE agent. What should happen to her?
Well, those guys have no, they don't have an argument. I mean, they're on federal. They're not acting as members of Congress.
Okay.
They're on federal territory, using, doing things that no one is allowed to do to interfere with the administration of federal immigration law enforcement and the operation of a detention facility. And to the extent that they're trying to paint that as Trump's gulag, that's a facility that Obama used as an ICE processing center, back in 2013, 2014, whenever it was, and the Democrats didn't make a peep about it. So they're clearly there obstructing federal operations, and there's no federalism argument, even though Mayor Baraka is in the middle of all this, because this is not a situation where the feds were commandeering a state facility.
It's federal property.
The Trump administration, it's private property, but it's now been contracted by the federal government. Apparently, there's this Florida company that runs prisons, and they've paid them like $1 billion to run that detention facility for the next 15 years. And the whole thing is, our immigration laws are actually pretty good. There's a lot of complaints about the law. The problem is that Congress hasn't provided enough resources to enforce them. So, for example, we have 20 million illegal immigrants in the country. Congress has funded 47,600 detention spaces. And Trump is realizing, obviously, that if he's going to get people deported, if he's going to make that a priority of his administration, as a practical matter, you need prison space to do that, because it simply takes a couple of weeks at least, even with the expedited procedure, to get people out of here, and you have to have a place you can stash them while they're going through the proceeding.
And the federal judge in Pennsylvania who gave the green light to Trump's use of the Alien Enemies Act as the basis of deportations, how does that impact the Supreme Court ultimately adjudicating the matter?
Yeah, I think the Supreme Court's going to ultimately have to decide that. I think that it's a dicey thing for the Trump administration, because they'd like to applaud that judge, but the position that they're taking in the court is that the courts don't have anything to say about it, that it's the president's call whether there's been an invasion or a predatory incursion. Obviously, the Supreme Court's going to have to be the one to decide that. The judge in Texas, who's a Judge Rodriguez, who's a Trump appointee, he said that Trump wrongly applied the Alien Enemies Act. So now we have judicial decisions on both sides. It's going to go up the chain. I actually think that in the end, Trump would be better off relying on the immigration laws, because he has designated Tren de Aragua and MS-13 as terrorist organizations. There is law to the proposition that the courts won't look behind the State Department designation. So the only issue in any habeas corpus proceeding would be, is the guy a member of the gang? And that's the same in the Alien Enemies Act context. They would have to litigate that as well as whether the Alien Enemies Act applies. And I think it's more complicated. To me, they'd be better off under the ordinary immigration law. I think they're making problems for themselves by trying to go around it.
Andy McCarthy, former Chief Assistant U.S. Attorney, Southern District of Manhattan, Southern District of New York, Manhattan, contributing editor at National Review, author of the bestseller Ball of Collusion, The Plot to Rig an Election and Destroy a Presidency. Andy, thank you as always. Appreciate it.
Thanks, guys. Have a great day.
You too. Always a pleasure. And he joined us on our Turnkey.pro answer line. Coming up on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Sir Charles weighs in on men playing women's sports in our latest installment of Sports and Politics at 8:38.
And I've got a story for you. But now let's head into that newsroom. Here's Richard Johnson.
Good morning. It's 57 degrees in Chicago. In the AM 560 newsroom, I'm Rich Johnson. Extra police on duty at Mather High today after a shooting yesterday afternoon left a 17-year-old wounded and hospitalized. He's in good condition. No word on his identity, and police are still looking for a suspect. Police say a 73-year-old man was shot and killed last night in Humboldt Park. A 40-year-old man shot and killed after an argument with someone at a gas station on South Stony Island. And police say 5 men all opened fire and killed a 20-year-old man near UIC late last night. Suspects remain at large. This report is sponsored by Low T Center. Guys, are you or your spouse looking to lose weight in time for summer? Head over to any Synergenex or Low T Center for prescription weight loss treatment options like semaglutide. If you qualify for treatment, you can get a free B12 shot when you start. The offer's limited. Book now at fixmylowt.com. A check of the roads coming up in 2 minutes on AM 560, The Answer.
Mike Gallagher reminding you that 80 million listeners depend on AM radio to always be on, delivering news, talk, sports, traffic, and weather reports you can trust. AM radio also delivers vital emergency information when you need it most. Text AM to 39179 and tell Congress to pass the AM Radio for Every Vehicle Act to keep AM radio in cars. Text AM to 39179. Message and data rates may apply. You may receive up to 4 messages a month, and you may text STOP to stop.
People ask us all the time, when's the best time to replace an old air conditioner? Simple. Before it breaks. Because when it does, you know it'll be the hottest day of the year, and suddenly you're scrambling like hundreds of others to get help during a heat wave. At Air Right Heating and Cooling, we've seen it all. We know there's never a good time to be without AC, especially in Chicagoland, where the humidity can make 80 degrees feel like 100. At Air Right, our experienced technicians don't just work fast, they'll do it right. Browse through our more than 1,500 5-star Google reviews to see what our loyal customers love most about us. If it's been a while since your system was inspected, don't wait for a heat wave before having it checked out. And right now, AM 560 listeners receive $56 off any service. Visit Air Right Heating and Cooling today at AIR-RITE.com. Again, that's AIR-RITE.com. Air Right, doing it right since 1959.
If you're looking to refinance a home after a divorce, you need to call Team Hochberg, your trusted local lender. Today, meet Lori, 50, social worker, score 650, income 90 G's a year. Call to refinance her mentally abusive ex-husband off the mortgage and title of their marital home per the divorce decree. Team Hochberg loan officer Anna Webdell helped Lori remove her ex-husband from the mortgage and title of the home, pay off debt totaling over $60,000, which included her attorney's fees, and saved her over $1,000 a month. Let's review. Team Hochberg loan officer Anna Webdell helped Lori remove her mentally abusive ex-husband from the mortgage and deed of the marital home, pay off all her debt, attorney's bills, and saved her over $1,000 a month. Team Hochberg has helped thousands of radio listeners, but we can't help if you don't call 855-563-2843 or visit 56david.com. Lower.com, equal housing lender, NMLS 1124061.
This hourly segment is brought to you by Goldilocks, offering smart security systems to homes and businesses. Call Goldilocks at 708-889-5600.
Plenty of headaches on the inbound Kennedy this morning. It's almost a 45-minute drive now from Montrose to the Burn Circle interchange. Tack on another 10 minutes or so coming in from O'Hare, although that looks like it's getting a little bit better. The inbound Eisenhower is getting a little bit better as well, but it's still a 50-minute drive making your way in from Wolf to the post office, with most of that coming between Des Plaines and Central Park. Outbound Eisenhower is looking at a 35-minute drive between the post office and Wolf, with most of that delay coming between Cicero and Des Plaines now. There was an earlier stall inbound on the Stevenson right around Pulaski, and that's the reason for the heavy delays that stretch about 45 minutes now from the Tri-State into Lakeshore Drive. Outbound Stevenson doesn't look too bad, leaving the loop this morning. Traffic is a service of Anthony DeGrotto, your Chicagoland State Farm agent. His team will work to provide the best service you expect at the price you want. Like a good neighbor, Anthony DeGrotto State Farm is there. DeGrottoSF.com. In the Team Hochberg Traffic Center, I'm Brian White.
Sunshine and clouds for this afternoon, high 78, clear tonight, low 59. Cloudy for tomorrow with a shower, thunderstorm around late, high 90, and Friday's high 89. I'm Andy Robb on AM 560, The Answer.
Get the latest weather, traffic, and news updates online at 560theanswer.com. Now, from the Signature Bank Studios.
On this latest installment of Sports and Politics, minus the jingle, the issue of boys playing girls sports. The response, it's sort of a bifurcated argument that the left is making these days. On the one hand, it still should happen. Men should be able to play women's sports if they identify as a woman, because there's no difference between a man identifying as a woman and a woman. On the other hand, it's a non-issue. I don't want to talk about it, and it never happens, and nobody gets hurt. So it's just an invented issue by conservatives. This past weekend at a high school track meet in Pennsylvania, a male student, Sean Lucy Allen, took first place in the women's 200 meter. And it's sort of like the instances of violent crime. I mean, they're rare, and I'm not saying they're of equal offense. I'm just saying it's rare, generally speaking, in most places. But there is a concentration in some places, and it's a problem because girls are being harmed, and so we shouldn't, because it's a small percentage of women who are being harmed by men playing women's sports, either physically or just in terms of accomplishment and scholarship opportunities. I don't understand the idea that we should just be dismissive of it. Not to mention, it becomes a cultural touchstone that the left continues to build on to destroy family and civilization by extension. And that's exactly the path that we've been on. First, marriage is something that we can redefine, and now your sexual, your biological reality is something we can. There's bigger things here than just a 200-meter race, but a 200-meter race is part of it.
312-642-5600 is our turnkey.pro answer line. You can also text us on that same line.
And don't think that some of people with platforms are still not advocates. This was Kate Fagan on ESPN's Around the Horn right before it got taken off the air. Not because of this, but it was going away anyway because it's unwatchable, like most of ESPN's programming that are not actual sporting contests. Kate Fagan, her last appearance on Around the Horn.
Well, listen, being on this show has been a privilege and a platform, and I know it's my last time on it, and I want to say something worthy of that privilege and platform, and that is this, that trans kids deserve to play sports. Think about what you remember from your time playing sports. Like 99% of it is finding that jersey for the first time, your favorite number, community, joy, those high fives. It's that moment when you have a great play with a teammate. It's the feeling of belonging, and it does not know gender. And trans kids deserve that the same as everybody else does. And Tony, this space has, on Around the Horn, it's been about diversity and inclusion and lifting up new voices, because sports is joy and sports is humanity. And the more people who have that, the better. And Tony, I love you. So thanks for having me back on.
You.
Yeah, it's just very touching.
Dan, we should end our show like that.
Mm-hmm.
Dan, yeah. I love you.
Jamil Hill, formerly of ESPN, too much of a radical Marxist even for ESPN, Jamil Hill, making the argument on CNN.
The other problem, Scott, is that it's never enough. It's bathrooms today. It's sports today. It's sports tomorrow. It's the military today.
No, it's also sports today, by the way.
Yeah, it is sports today. And
80% of Americans agree, by the way.
Oh, that's fine. And 80%, guess what? The majority sometimes is wrong. That also happens, right? Because the majority used to believe that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was somebody who was a threat, that somebody who was not a good American. The majority of people used to be against civil rights. Were they right? No, they weren't.
Yeah, the majority is this, the majority is that is not the best argument to make. The argument to make with Jamil Hill is that, the question, Jamil, I'm sorry, a boy identifying as a girl is not the same thing as a girl. Simple. Yeah. I don't care if 5% of the public believes that or 95%. It doesn't change biological reality and what attaches to that biological reality. Simple. Jasmine Crockett
Oh, boy.
Not going away.
Oh, no. She delivers every day, Dan.
No, I'm saying this issue isn't.
Yeah.
No,
this issue is not
from a
going
lot of
away.
quarters. Jasmine Crockett was on Colbert. Of course she was, because she's a cause celeb now. And they started by playing this clip from a hearing, a Doge hearing, where the issue of trans in sports was raised. Because, by the way, there are Title IX issues, there are legal issues associated with this as well, as Trump has made clear through executive orders. So they first did this little vaudeville act that she did in a Doge hearing recently, and then asked her about it. First, the vaudevillian Jasmine Crockett.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and I want you to tell me whether or not it is Trump or trans people that are responsible. You understand? Got it. Okay, very good. The first one, gutted medical research. Trump. Kidnapping Americans and sending them to foreign countries, a.k.a. deporting them. Trump. Driving us into a recession. Trump. Increasing the cost of everything. Trump. Waging an idiotic tariff war. Trump. Harming farmers. Trump. Ignoring the Constitution. Trump. Proposing to take away Social Security. Trump. Cutting health care. Trump. Firing government workers who keep our country safe. Trump. Encouraging an environment of hate and divisiveness. Trump. Thank you so much.
So that was that's back and forth that she did, obviously set up with this pro-trans activist, or this trans activist that's pro boys and girls sports and so forth. Yeah, trans or Trump. Yeah, it's so clever. Her and Colbert yucked it up about the idea, or the rationale behind this brilliant idea.
How did that idea come to you, the game Trump or trans?
Well, first of all, I needed to keep it simple.
Oh, this is so clever.
Helps with the message.
Especially when I'm trying to send a message to him. Got to keep it very simple. This was a Doge hearing, and so the Doge subcommittee is also headed up by someone else who needs a simple message, Marjorie Taylor Greene, right? So I wanted to be clear. There was no reason that we were having a hearing about who could play what sports, and definitely fencing, and subpoenaing someone to talk about fencing who doesn't take a government dollar in the Department of Government Efficiency hearing, right? So I wanted to redirect and make sure that the American people knew that this was nothing but a distraction. And sometimes coming up with something very plain, very simple is probably the best way to go. So that's why I did it.
Yeah, genius.
Such a hero.
Speaking of fencing, because that was a topic at that hearing, Representative Brandon Gill, our friend from Texas, did a Q&A with the head of USA Fencing, Damian Lefelt, because he's pro men and women's sports too, including fencing. And as Jasmine Crockett, USA Fencing doesn't take $1 of federal money. Well, that's not the point. I thought you were a lawyer. The point is the Title IX provision, and whether USA Fencing is advocating for participation of men in girls and in women's sports at the collegiate level, which is violative of Title IX, which is federal law. That's your big civil rights advocate. Huh, interesting. Anyway, Brandon Gill, always good at bringing the words of somebody he plans to cross-examine to indict them. He did it with BLM Brandon. He did it with Maher, the head of NPR. Now he did it with this dope, Damian Lefelt, USA Fencing.
Do you think that parents who don't want their daughters competing against men in women's sports are whiny?
No, sir.
You don't? Why did you write that on social media? I've got a picture here where you posted that. You were allegedly responding to a parent who didn't want their daughter being beaten up by men in sports competitions. You said, I'm not going to pull her from the sport and write a whiny email announcing my departure.
Sir, Mr. Congressman Jack had asked me about that, and want to be crystal clear, that was an inappropriate message.
Do you think that they're cowardly?
Sir, no, I don't. I don't at all. And in fact,
Why did you write that on social media?
I regret it, sir. I deleted it shortly after posting, and I certainly don't feel that way anymore. And given a lot of the messages that we receive, and even conversations that I've had,
do you think
with
that
Ms.
parents
Turner,
who don't want their daughters competing against men in sports should be compared to the Ku Klux Klan?
No, absolutely not. And I
why
acknowledge
did you
that I
do
said
that?
that in the message, sir.
Why did
that
you
was
do that?
inappropriate.
That was inappropriate?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, you're right. That isn't inappropriate. I'd like to read what you wrote and what you posted on social media.
Sure.
Responding allegedly to a lady who had these concerns. The only wizard that's going to dig you out of the myopic hole you've put yourself and your family in is one of the, quote, grand wizard variety.
Inappropriate, sir, and I acknowledge that I said it, and I will commit to never making a message like that again.
That was in response to a parent, according to you on social media, who had a problem with this. Was this a real email that you were responding to?
It was a real email, sir. I did not respond to it and hit send.
This was a real email. Did an actual parent write this, or did you write this email?
It was written by an actual person claiming to be a parent. They were not a member of our...
Were you that actual person?
No, sir.
You were not that actual person, but you staged this whole interaction.
The response, sir, was not real, and I regret that.
It's the head of a sporting federation. Oh, really? So I regret comparing parents who don't want their girls participating in sports with boys, or boys really intervening in their sports. They're like the Grand Wizard of the Klan, but I won't post that anymore, and I regret it. Well,
you said it.
I changed my mind. I no longer believe that. Really, tell me the epiphany story.
Yeah.
Tell me the conversion that occurred.
It's just he got caught, and he got called out on it, not caught.
That's
how it feels.
And so tell me again how this is a non-issue when you have people like this guy as the head of a sporting federation. 312-642-5600, turnkey.pro answer line. Culminating with Charles Barkley, who has now weighed in on this. Yeah, pretty direct, pretty simple perspective from Barkley. I think it's most people's perspective, but just because it's most people's perspective doesn't mean it wins the day. Otherwise, we wouldn't be talking about this issue years after it first bubbled to the surface, would we?
Men should not play sports against women. I'm not going to get into all the bullshit that's going on out here in the world today. If anybody thinks that, I think they're stupid. I'm not, like I say, I support the gay community 100%. I support the transgender community 100%. But I do not, under any circumstances, under zero, think that men should play sports against women. And if anybody have a problem with that, they're going to have to get over it, because I'm not going to change I just think it's wrong, period. I'm never going to think it's all right for men to play sports against women. And I don't even think that's controversial. That's the thing that's funny. Like some of this stuff make, like when you see these debates on television, like, yeah, men shouldn't play sports against women. I'm done. I don't want to hear you try to explain it to me. No, I don't want to hear it. I'm not going to argue with you. Men shouldn't play sports against women. I'm done. There's a lot of we can argue over. That ain't one of them.
Greg in LaGrange, you're on Chicago's Morning Answer.
Charles has spoken.
Hi. Morning. Dan, this kind of brings me back to something that you mentioned years ago about same-sex marriage and the blurring of the line of the term marriage. Nobody looks down on people that want to be in a same-sex relationship, but it's not the same as a marriage. And as a Catholic, as a fellow Catholic, and I think that's the issue. You get this creeping, this sliding slope of what's accepted and what's not accepted, and you find yourself in positions like this. I think your analogy at one point was we have gotten past the point where now marriage is the equivalent of everything. It blurs state and religion. But now we're into the transgender thing, and I think this is all part of that slippery slope where if you can beat the public down long enough and you can get your footprint or a bridgehead, to use a military term, on the ground, eventually they'll be accepted. And that's why you have to fight. And the argument is very simple. A man's not a woman. There's no science behind it. It's just not.
Thanks for the call, Greg. Well, right. But just in terms of marriage redefinition, try and find a reference I made this point before, but I'll make it again because there's an analogy here. Try and find a reference to gay marriage before, say, 1995. And then a little bit more than 15 years later, the Supreme Court weighed in and it became the law of the land, marriage redefinition. It was a non-issue. It was an issue supported by a small minority of Americans, but they kept at it and on it as part of this larger claim for civil rights and so forth. And, well, that's where we ended up. So, I mean, made this point many times. The left is happy, these movement Marxists are happy to take a 5% issue supported by 5% of the public and turn it into an issue supported by a majority, ultimately, or, a politically potent minority that ultimately over time builds into a majority. Then people don't want to deal with it anymore because they are so relentlessly on the assault. Which is why I find this whole thing so exhausting because sort of nobody learns the lesson of previous iterations of this. You think because Trump won and he issued an executive order that now this issue is over, and it's not over. It's not over for them.
Oh, no.
And
there's a number of blue states. They're not going to stop letting men play women's sports.
I mean,
there's no way.
Maine is, Department of Justice is in litigation with the state of Maine, just for example. But the point is they will continue to pound away forever.
Well, I got to tell you, I know somebody who's at a middle school volleyball game, boys game, and 2 girls were playing on the boys team. And 5th and 6th grade girls are a lot more developed and disciplined, and they know the game. And the other team threw this. My neighbor told me this. The other team threw a fit. And they're like, well, this is the gray area that you created. There are no rules anymore. You changed the rules. So welcome. Because all we hear about all the time is men playing women's sports. Well, in this time, girls were playing in boys' sports. And they beat the other team.
Yeah, you erase the lines. Very
There's
difficult
no
to
lines.
redraw them, which is what I said ad nauseum during the whole marriage redefinition debate. Joe, Arlington Heights.
Good morning. I was a little disappointed in Charles Barkley in saying he supports the trans community because he is not underpinning his opinions with the truth that there are just men and women. He knows it. He's just afraid to go all the way and say it. I just wanted to use an analogy. Think about a parent whose kid comes to them and says, I'm really fat, but it's a 13-year-old girl who's skinny as a rail. She's got anorexia. Should she be reaffirmed and be told, yes, honey, you are fat. We'll help you starve yourself to death. There's a lot of emotional issues going on with these people, and being truthful is the first step in helping them.
Thanks for the call, Joe. Mac in Indiana.
Hey, so 37 states took votes on gay marriage, including California and a lot of East Coast ones. And every single time it was voted down. Women in sports, men in sports with women, only in pickleball so I can get some victories.
Thanks, Mac. Yeah, no, I mean that's an exclamation point on the point I was making. State by state, the ballot initiatives failed. So what they couldn't get through popular support, they got through the courts, and then conservatives, and many who were trying to appease all the way on. Oh, it's just civil unions, and they'll be happy, and then we can just move on. Oh, and then it's just marriage redefinition, they'll be happy, and we can move on. Oh, it's just boys and girls sports, and then it'll be, yeah. Or it started with bathrooms and then sports, and
right.
Yeah, right. Erase all the lines.
Pretty soon.
Erase all the lines, and then we'll redraw them in sensible ways. Sure, we will.
Sorry for interrupting, but I soon believe that some day mothers are going to be able to marry their sons. If they're living together and you want to get their Social Security when they die, why not?
Is that? Are you planning on something?
No. Oh, God, gross. No.
Are you market testing that?
No, I'm just saying. The way that things are going, eventually, like siblings can marry each other, moms can marry sons.
In the immortal words of our wonderful Republican Senator Mark Kirk, love is love. Life is all about who you love and who loves you back, and that's it. Dan and Amy, Chicago's Morning Answer.
Listen to podcasts of Dan and Amy from the AM 560 mobile app. Download it today at 560theanswer.com/mobile.
You've probably been hearing a lot of buzz about tariffs.
I haven't.
Really?
What's a tariff?
It's a tax on imported goods.
It makes these imported goods more expensive.
Oh, that explains why I've never heard of tariffs.
Why?
Because 92.3% of the furniture at Penny Mustard is made in the USA.
True.
In fact, most of it is built by local craftsmen and women right here in the Midwest.
And locally sourced furniture will never have a tariff on it.
So when you invest in new furniture at Penny Mustard, you won't be paying extra taxes and shipping costs.
Besides, tariffs or no tariffs, our American-made Penny Mustard Strong furniture will last generations longer than IFE-made furniture shipped in from overseas.
You get so much more for your money when you buy American.
Tell me more about these tariffs.
Can we talk about this later? I'm so tired of hearing about them.
Oh, so I guess you can say that all this talk about tariffs is taxing.
I see what you did there.
PennyMustard.com.
Penny Mustard Furnishing.
AM 560, The Answer.
All right. Thanks so much for making us part of your morning, part of your lives. Thanks to George Hoffman and Quinn McCarthy. We're back here bright and early tomorrow morning at 5 a.m. Enjoy the day. Sun, clouds, a high near 80 degrees. It is now 9 a.m. WIND, Chicago.
President Trump is in Qatar. I'm Dave Anthony, Fox News. The second stop on his Middle East trip, well, he'll soon sign some sort of agreement we don't know the details of. He met with the emir a short time ago.
It will bring peace not only here, but I know you're very much involved in helping us in other regions like what's happening with Russia, Ukraine, etc.
The president, who will go to the United